Very first match of our very first day of play-ins begins. CAG versus G2. First up.
Let's get right into it, Parker. Starting with the operator bans. As we always do, Cyclops banning first. I'm thinking of Dokkaebi. That's typically been the operator they've banned most often on this map. But they ban out the Monty. Just what I'm saying. CAG could lean into the shields at Alamau. Just as shocked as I am. Again, Anderson's not been playing as many Monties as he has historically been known to play. And that will be answered right with the Blitz. So immediately, this thing that we constantly talk about with our meta, the shields that have been dominating this meta, are taken off the board. Valkyrie out next. Cyclops, a couple of options for this final ban. They could go Goyo, they could go Kaid. Those have been what they've been banning so far through the stage. On Bank, both extremely powerful on this map in particular. And we'll land on the Kaid, so sticking on with their tradition. But yeah, the Monty Blitz, that's going to be the key thing to focus on here. G2 haven't been a huge shield team so far. Uno's played a bit, Alamau's played a bit, and Cyclops as well. I mean, they've played it here and there, but I suppose these squads, at least for their opening game, deciding to take that entire part of the meta and just remove it.
Yeah, I mean, a bank with no shields is something that is quite interesting. Well, no shields on attack. Let's put a pin in that no shield talk, because immediately Anderson locks in the clash. I feel like all that time spent discussing how CAG has moved away from their shield play, a crutch, if you could call it that, and yet a clash emerges right off the rip. G2 obviously have the entire prep phase to swap out operators, so they can... Do you hear the players?
Very faintly, I think. Starting a game.
That's Doki.
They're putting a Goyo on the server stairs.
Yeah.
Lock it in. One thing they might not be
Don't know if this is intentional, but I kind of like it.
It's nice. It's nice to be able to hear. We do call-ins sometimes at certain events to hear specifically, like during
Who's calling?
timeouts. What?
Who's calling?
No, like they call, like they give them the headset and they call, like, oh, opening pick from Shu Reap. Taking out Blaz, immediately losing your buck.
And did you immediately hear the chirps from CAG, the coos, the woo?
All right, getting into it a little bit here.
Blaz and Loira were both big additions to this team after Benja and Virtue were moved off of the roster after a disappointing series of results for G2. And Loira and Blaz are two players that you expect to do battle with the best of the best internationally, and you will be robbed of one of those players very early on. Not exactly the start that G2 wanted.
And we've got the Clash, of course, coming out. This was very common from Anderson. It's the second most played operators. G2, are they going for a bit of a back rush? It looks like they might be. They've opened up the gold hatch here. They've got Loira, who's going to be pushing in through Garage. And here they go. The drop coming in from Uno immediately into a dread mine, but he still finds the kill. He doesn't even need to be able to see. He gets the down and the finish off now. Black Rag falls. Minute 50 on the clock. Lots to work with, but they're not quite in a plant position yet. Uno's got to work his way through. This definitely caught Cyclops off guard. They've got their way into the basement, but they haven't been able to convert much off of it just yet. Alamau, another kill in the Shu Reap here.
And the Clash will pay dividends as long as there's a supporting cast around her. Back to an equalized 3v3 with half of the round still to go. You've got lots of information at your disposal. Tons of SAM cams for Alamau that can still be used. All the while that this is happening, Loira beheads Shiraniko, and Uno pulls off a successful defuse with nobody from CAG seemingly aware. It's the smoke of Chibisu. Right now, perfectly in between both bomb sites, but he'll have to split duties as the two remaining G2 players. Alamau and Loira, both from Brazil. We'll say to Chibisu, if you won't come to Brazil, we'll bring Brazil to you. First round goes to G2.
We stopped actually just before inside and counted positions. I counted with classes stopping you. Smoke is on your left. And Loira has that guy carried.
Too much good, guys.
Play it slow if we have to.
Play it slow if we have to. I love the listening. You heard it. They had the player in Garage that was able to cut everything off. Loira got those 2 picks. It was a brilliantly executed strategy from G2. Just drop it in through the back. As soon as they lost that opening pick of Blaz, I was a little bit worried for their take, but they didn't skip a beat. The Dread Mines were set up properly. Cyclops clearly had utility that were set up to stop that. As soon as Uno dropped through the gold hatch, he was completely blind. Fenrir gadgets, they can be so effective, but it doesn't matter if Uno hits the shots regardless. Black Ray, you can't be losing gunfights to guys that are full blind. That just can't be happening, unfortunately. That's what went down to start that round. So for Cyclops, maybe not the ideal way to begin your run at the major, but it's one round. It happens. Cyclops, now's your opportunity to reset.
Think about what happened as well. You lost the buck very early when Blaz got picked off. CAG are sitting on one of the best defender bomb sites in a 5v4 for 2 minutes and 30 seconds with a clash on the board, by the way, which means that if one player from G2 is doing battle with that clash, then there are only 3 other players that can focus on other things. The real success for G2 came from Uno. He dropped. He was obscured for just a second through that Dread Mine, still able to get the pick, and nobody from CAG pivoted to cover the back of the bomb site, and it was Uno's for the taking. He got the diffuser down, and with G2 taking control of that top floor and then pushing in through garage, there was nowhere for CAG to hide.
Now we move to open area, of course, but there's a top floor extension. I like this little dual roam, but hold on. It's actually the site players that are being torn apart. Loira finds Chibisu and Anatson brought down to just 23 HP. Alamau's in through Printer. G2 again, they just want to go through the site. They want to skip past some of these early rounds, but Alamau punished now with the Nitro Cell from Anatson. Finally, this is going to be a pick for Cyclops. Equalize that man count, get control of this round, and slow it down a little bit. Loira doesn't stop, though. Finds the trade. Anatson falls. Uno as well to Shoe Reap. This is one of those top floor players now falling off of the elevator, and it leaves just Black Ray on the top floor with 2 site players now.
And they know exactly where Shoe Reap was. Black Ray dies to Blaz on the very final bullet. A small bit of that caliber-based destruction through the wall. Doki dies to Shiraniko, and this is far closer than what we saw in the first round. Heard the boogie go off. Very similar to what we saw from the track stingers of Gridlock when she was first unveiled. That gadgetry might not do any soft destruction, but it'll make an awful lot of noise, and that can conceal your advance. This time around, it will destroy some of the roof over top of Shiraniko.
Diffuse Kit is miles away. Can they even achieve, re-pick that up? It's very far. Blaz, I think, is going to get it, but is it outside? I believe it might be. If the player who was holding it was killed on rappel, yeah, he's got to go all the way outside to pick it up. That's a huge distance, and Shurip seems to have a read on that, knows that someone's gone out to maybe pick up that diffuse kit. Might have an idea that Blaz is coming over to the front door. The nice thing is they have the time to play with. Because they hit site so quickly, they've got this time to reposition. Loira's not dying. He's waiting for Blaz, so they're setting things up, but time's going to be low when they do execute.
He's going to have to do double duty, and gives his position away over by that electrical wall. He was stopped, but for a second, because of a small piece that was preventing him from going on through. Now he walks on in, but where, oh where, are these players? Excellent patience here from CAG, 15 seconds to go. Shuri holding it down, taking some damage, eliminating Loira. It's all up to Blaz. Blaz and Shurip in a 1v1. Shurip has been the player of this round for CAG. He has a good read on it. Blaz sticking the plant, not falling off. He commits, and Shurip gets the down, ice in his veins, and a triple kill. He started the fight upstairs. He went back up top to assess where that diffuse kit went and managed to make his way back to the bomb site. Perfectly timed. And when there's only 10 seconds left and you're in that open area, break room bomb site, there's only one place for you to plant. He knew exactly where it was. He won the gunfight as Blaz emerged from the diffuser, and that was it for G2.
Yeah, greatly played by Shurip. Again, they didn't want to get into gunfights before they knew that it was in sight, getting that 2v2. You saw the Fenrir was moving to the top floor, trying to go for some of those aggressive picks when that player was going for the diffuse kit, but knew that he didn't have to get into a gunfight, right? Wasn't rushing for that, would rather play in sight, play their trades. Shurip played that perfectly. A rare fail from Blaz in the clutch, by the way. He's been the best clutch player on G2, winning 5 of his 27 clutch attempts through the second stage. Most of those, of course, coming in defensive situations, as most clutches do, but regardless, Blaz is very good in those late round situations. Wasn't quite enough to beat out Shurip this time around, but still very good showing from both players. I like the way that G2 played that late round. Sometimes you don't have the most favorable situations. I will say, G2 in these first 2 rounds have really telegraphed the pace they want to go for. Both times, they have hit the site within the first 60 seconds of the round. They clearly want to get active and hit that site, or at least pressure it early on. The second round certainly turned out very different from the first round, as they had to readjust and change their plans a little bit. But as far as the early round goes, G2, they've got a playstyle and they're sticking to it. We got a Glaz and an Osa running through the dirt tunnel.
This could be a quick one, and I think Anaton understands that. Grenade goes out, still has the Vulcan canister as well to slow down the advance of G2. 20 long, painful seconds that those attackers need to sit and wait out. Alamo looking for something, anything over towards server as the smoke lingers and dissipates. And now Anaton has bought himself some more time. 2 minutes and 30 seconds with 20 off the clock. That'll be just around the 2-minute mark that G2 can continue their advance. If they were looking for a rush strat here, it seems like CAG have done a great job of slowing down that rush.
Yeah, this is a really great read. I mean, they're not leaving, to be clear. They're still in Dirt Tunnel, 3 players down there, just waiting to find their opportunity to strike. But Anaton's clearly done his job, spotted that out, and recognized that there might be an aggressive play coming through Dirt Tunnel. The Goyo is over now. Blaz is in server stairs. Cyclops quite aware of what might be happening here. They've still got good control of top floor. Shoe Reap is upstairs in open area. Chibisu's upstairs as well in the office hallway. So you've got players still above that could maybe play with those hatches. But G2, they don't care. They're in server. They're opening the walls. They're popping the glass, and they're hunting for picks, but nothing given.
Does anyone know how glass works? You got to stop moving, man. That's how it is. Finally, there will be some clarity with the glass as Loira gets the very first pick on Nashir and Nico, and out goes the Talon Shield. Doki will trust in Ali Mao as a quick reload, and then right back to assessing whether or not this is doable. Nicely done by Ali Mao to take care of the Nitro Cell, tossed on out. No explosive to be had there. And now a rush from CAG to get back to this bomb site as the timer will run against them. 2 for 2 as G2 is able to get the plant down on this bomb site yet again. An all-out brawl as 9 players are still alive, and the timer on that defuse kit is at the halfway point. Ali Mao with 2 kills. Now it's Doki to push up, but he assesses whether or not he can get a kill. Yes! 3 kills for Doki, 2 for Ali Mao. The diffuser also being walked in by Doki. That's a great round from G2, and they win it flawlessly.
I trusted you so much, man. I just started, man. I was like, if he kills me, he kills me. Fuck.
I don't miss the shots.
The thing about trust, Parker, it's so important for rounds like those, as you hear Doki explaining it himself. I mean, it's risky watching out for a C4 when it's only a glass. You've got 1 shot to hit that Nitro Cell, but perfectly done by Alamau, making that op look easy. The experienced captain of G2. Having a good time with that round, you can tell. I love it. The Glaz Osa strat coming out from server. I think Cyclops expected. They seemed to know what was going on, but they really relied on that 1 Nitro Cell to do all the work for them. If it had landed, it would have blown up the shield, it would have killed Doki, it would have done everything they needed, and likely won them the round, but that 1 shot destroying it was all that it took. They had no other explosives because the impacts were all used earlier. The Toxic Babes weren't out fast enough to deny that plant. I would have liked to see a flank going through. It was possible one was attempted by Shiraniko and then he died. That was caught off cam, so I'm not sure if he was going for that. Don't want to say that he wasn't. But typically that would kind of be the strategy, right? If you've got full top floor control as a defense, you want to be flanking, you want to be pressuring them from behind. That was never able to happen, whether that was due to a lack of attempts or whether that was strong flank watch. So G2, all bases covered at the moment, clearly feeling very good about that. And 3 rounds now, all of them direct site hits within the first 60 seconds. That is once again doable as we enter here onto the top floor. Might be a bit of a slower strategy this time, but I mean, we've got to wait and see. G2 have been very consistent in the type of rounds they want to go for.
The way that CAG went about those 2 downstairs defenses were wildly different as well, Jesse. The very first time it was a Clash and a Tubarão coming out. The Tubarão likely designed to keep your hatches safe.
Yep.
And that was not a focal point for G2 whatsoever. G2 either assessed that there was a Tubarão and said, let's hit the site direct, let's go through garage, or they said, maybe they just never had that in mind at all. The second time around, CAG ran with a more conventional composition, lots of utility burn with the Goyo and then the castle to boot, an Elysian to slow down G2, and unfortunately for CAG, they were unsuccessful. Here, wildly different lineup. Amira is brought for the first time. We also see Skopos get brought for the first time, and Aruni gets brought for the first time. Awamai gets brought for the first time. So these are all new operators tailored to this bomb site, and so far, through the first minute and a half, G2 have looked for something on those outside windows, looked for something over towards Square, and have not been able to find it just yet.
Oh, there it is. Doki, the opening pick.
Literally as I
window.
stop speaking.
Yeah, that's how it goes, isn't it? Parker, the casting curse. Answered by Shuri. That's going to be that player down below. The things you can do with the Scopos operator, but G2, they're not done yet. They're in, but Doki missed the shots with a pistol. One of the best Damos players in the world. Can't get it done. As that gets answered. Now Shuri with a second finds Uno going for the trade, but also Chibisu at the front office able to find 2 of those huge picks to shut down that push. G2 again and again and again. It's early sight hits, and finally, Cyclops, they look ready.
That swing in and those last 2 kills that came out for CAG were done because G2 tried to course correct a little bit too quickly, right? They thought they had information, they could get somebody over towards those banana windows, and then nothing was found there. Doki was dropped from that position, a bit of hastiness from G2. And honestly, a lot of this really boils down to the fact, and we say this when there is a slight mismatch based on legacy between these teams, that you have to respect your opponents. G2 have shown throughout all 4 of these rounds that they are very formidable when it comes to gunfights. Loira in particular has been making mincemeat out of these CAG players. However, you don't get to an international competition being lousy aimers. You just don't. And if you don't take your opposition seriously, they will punish you repeatedly. Even the worst statistical team at this tourney will have some really great moments of punishing some of the better teams. If G2 thinks that they can get cutesy and swing on in and take very quick fights where they have limited information, they're not going to win that against a team that so far, through 3 separate rounds, they only won 2 of them, but through 3 separate rounds, CAG has caught G2 off guard in the early engagements, and that's something that G2 needs to fix.
Well, we're not done with the shenanigans on either side. Sharif's going for a wrap play, currently 6-2, but I doubt he's going to find anybody down at the front door. Everybody from G2 stacked up. They're going to go for a Sense, Glass, and Fuse Shield play. Fuse Shield's been very popular this meta. Anytime Monty and Blitz have both been banned out. Obviously the worst shield that the attackers can bring, but better than no shields in many situations. So we do see quite a bit of Fuse Shield in today's meta if you get that Monty Blitz ban, as we see here on Bank. Haven't gone for any type of an execute just yet, I will say, for G2. Whether they clear out that top floor or not, it's going to be an interesting decision for them to make. It looks like they will be trying to clear out these top couple of players. It is only Blackray, actually, all alone. Previously, they had a smoke playing inside a Janitor as well as an Azami, but Blackray, with less support than he's had in previous rounds, doesn't want to play it too aggressively. He falls back to the main stairs in a position where he can fall back quite early. And now we see the cluster charges starting to get used. These rarely have much effect in terms of getting kills. They can clear utility at times. Good for barbed wire, Kiba barriers perhaps, but with all of the players on the defense rotating off of the top floor, they seem to be accepting the fact that there will be cluster charges coming down, clearing out a bit of their utility. It gives so much warning. You're almost never going to get a kill with these things, but regardless, can deal a lot of damage and can cause a lot of disruption for G2.
The big thing as well is clearing out utility. That's what Fuse is used for in a lot of different situations. On some maps you see before Ram came out in particular, you'd use those cluster charges to get rid of a lot of the floors around you, etc. Alimau somehow taking down Blackray. I don't know where this engagement happened, that Alimau was able to do that with the Fuse pistol in hand, but so it goes. Alimau now with Diffuser. At the halfway point, CAG caught off guard by this. Doki has died, CAG have lost Blackray and Chibisu. The clash is still upright. And there's the Glass to now harass Aniton over by Electrical. Shureep will retake from above. This has been a very nice spot for Shureep in rounds previous, and it will happen yet again. Tearing open, as there's the Fuse down below. That PMM does a lot of damage, but you need the bullets. Alimau goes for an unfortunate reload, and Shureep is unstoppable. He was the one who clutched from this position before, and it's Shiraniko to get the final kill. Goodness gracious, what happened there? Shureep, an unstoppable force on this bomb site. CAG take the lead.
What an interesting round that was. Alimau with the opening pick, jumping in. I believe that was the printer window, able to get that kill with the Fuse Shield. I will say, they brought Glass, they brought Sens, they had 4 smokes, 4 Sens walls. They used none of it. I think we're trying to sneak the plant and trying to make it so Cyclops weren't aware of it, and they might have been successful in that. They obviously got the plant down into the ground. I was about to spend this post round just glazing Alimau for his play on the shield and as an IGL and as a planter, but Never mind, we got to talk about Shureep. This guy has been absurd today. 9-2. He was their second best player throughout the stage, and actually their best player on defense throughout all of stage 2. So it's not a surprise that he is the one to be carrying the team here on the defensive half of Bank, giving Cyclops their very first lead of the night. Obviously, Shureep has been fantastic in all of his gunfights. Typically, he's been more of an entry-focused player. He takes a lot of opening engagements on both the attack and defense. He's typically the guy who's getting into those first fights, who's starting off as the entry and as the roamer. But today, he's been a little bit more late rounds. He's been a little bit more involved in the later phases, and I think that's just a consequence of how G2 are choosing to push, right? Every round, G2 are going direct to site. They're not roam clearing. That means Shureep, who's often starting off in the roam, isn't getting into those early gunfights. He's got to come back to site late and often is the hero that they need. So excellent play from Shureep, coming back and stopping all those G2 players in the site. You got to imagine that wasn't the plan for G2 because they didn't use any of their utility, but they thought they had a gap. They did hit that gap. They got the plant down. The post plant from Shureep was just way too good.
I mean, when you cluster charge the vast majority of open area and you see CAG completely retreat over towards break room, over towards electrical, over towards square, then Alimao assesses, hey, this is free for the taking. I can just walk right in, I can get the diffuser down, and then we should be okay. The real issue with G2 was watching from above in that trading room, because that's where the first pick for Shureep came from. He held that position, then took the hatch, then dropped and got into the bomb site. 9-2 up against G2 is really quite a fantastic scoreline. And Shureep will keep it going, only good enough for a single kill, but honestly, taking Blaz out, getting rid of the boogie drones over top of Teller's archives, that is a huge loss for G2 and a big win for CAG.
Not done yet, of course. Alimao hunting for this last player that's upstairs inside of Janitor. They find Anaton. Alimao, a huge second pick on this roam clear. For the first time, G2 are actively engaging with the roamers, and they have completely torn them to pieces. Alimao, a huge start, finding both Anaton and Shureep, two players who have quite different stat lines to start this game, but still 2 kills nonetheless. They're hunting for this Echo now. It's Chibisu who's inside the elevators. That nade's going to force him to move. It'll force the drop out, and he takes no damage as he falls. Does give up his shield position, of course, and Alamao's going to continue to watch that just in case he stuck around and somehow survived that, but should know more or less that player has likely dropped, and they will also catch Blackray inside of Archive. So now it goes all the way down to Sheeran, Echo, and Chibisu to clutch this out.
Or to choke it out. I mean, maybe not a slip of the tongue. Maybe that is correct. Logic bombs going off. Chibisu isolated by Alimao at the top of the stairs. 3 kills for Carl. Dogi getting diffuser down. G2 have enough players that can walk that on in, and it's Alimao with a 4K to equalize the first half of Bank. 3-3. Neither team able to outpace the other.
You can say what you want about Alimao. He's a controversial figure, maybe. He's very confident in himself, and he's very, very good at the game. But you cannot deny the impact he's had on G2 since the start of the year. Stage 1 and Stage 2, he has been their best performer. He put up a 1.29 KDR this stage. Alimao has been absolutely amazing. Of course, their IGL as well. Trying to talk to his team there, set them up for this 3-3 half, going on to the defense. But Alimao has been absolutely fantastic. And I know a lot of people have been critical of him. Sometimes at big events, he hasn't had the best performances. But consistently, throughout the regional leagues, he has been their top fragger while also leading the team. So Alimao can absolutely get it done. You saw him there on the entry, finding all of those important frags, really well executed. And you got to kind of wonder, G2, it felt like that 6th round was the first time we saw them going for a bit of a mix-up, not going direct to site. It went so successfully. You start to maybe question, wow, I wonder if had they done that a little bit more often, maybe they'd be in a better situation than 3-3. But even still, a 3-3 split, you're not going to be mad at that if you're G2. Bank can be pretty 50-50 most of the time, so this is kind of expected. G2 are now on defense, which is often the easier side anyways. So we'll see how it goes for them. On the side of Cyclops, now that they're on the attack, looks to be a similar story. We got the Fuse Shield coming out once again from Anaton this time around, and some more smokes and Ying this time coming out for the open area bomb site.
At least you have the Warden on the side of G2 to deal with the Ying. So, I mean, you'll be able to handle, or presumably handle, these tricky operators. Another Fuse Shield being brought, as you talked about how, well, with the Monty and Blitz bans, maybe we don't see a shield. Well, we've been wrong across the board.
I mean, it's not surprising in today's meta, honestly. The shields are so good.
2 clashes were brought on defense. Fuse brought with a shield 1 time all the way back in round 5. Staff an open area where there's Alimau on that operator. Shureep looking for an opening now. He's not alone. Anyton takes out Doki. Black Ray running on in, gunned down by Alimau, who doesn't understand that there's more than 1 person up there. 3 separate players all guarding open area. Blaz downstairs holding down the fort. Uno and Black Ray, and Aniton for that matter, started this round with a single kill. Aniton getting on the board means more than 1, so for Uno and Black Ray, tough on offense so far, but again, not usually on roles where they're required to get kills, so that's okay. Maybe for Black Ray on attack, things will change a little bit.
I like Cyclops a lot for this late round. They're going to start by trying to clear out the server stairs player. This is an important position for Loira. He's able to get something done as he's in a man disadvantage, full blind, and caught out by Goyo canisters. Retreats back to the site now, though. Still, 2 Candelas to work with from Shureep, of course. Still some of those smoke grenades as well in the pocket of Chibisu. They have got so much time, so much information. They're going to give the kit over to Aniton as well, planting with a shield on your back. It's one of the most successful ways to get a plant onto the ground as well. There's some Toxic Babes, there's some impacts, there's some util for sure on the side of G2, but this is not going to be easy.
Yeah, not a ton for G2 to work with, but enough that they could bail themselves out of a bad situation. Both Candelas go down. Shureep looking for a dozen kills. 1 away. Oh my! A creep up from Loira as he runs into the wrong side of Shureep. Diffuser goes down, and Blaz and Uno are the last 2 standing for G2 as Shureep continues his rampage. A 4K to start attack for Shureep. Goodness gracious.
I'm not sure if G2 understand, but he's certainly letting them know. And I think, regardless of the language barrier, somebody drops a 4K, they scream at you across a banner. I'm pretty sure you're going to get the message. In G2, I think they get it loud and clear. Feeling very good about that if you're Cyclops. A strong execute to finish that out. I was a little bit worried at the start because the Candelas didn't actually land. Both of the Candelas that came out during the execute, I don't believe they were able to blind anybody with it, but G2 played it so passive in the late round, entirely relying on those smokes to do something to stop the plants, to disrupt the side of CAG. It never really happened. Cyclops were so confident in their ability to just get that plant down. They had full site control. G2 didn't respond very well. So with the early round not going their way and then them kind of refusing to engage in the late round, it was a good plan from Cyclops. And then, of course, Shureep. 14-3 now. One of his best performances he's ever put up. Of course, the newest player on CAG, not new at this point, been on the team for a while, but still, he got picked up not too long ago at this point and has been absolutely fantastic for the squad. I talked about him as the primary Monty player, the primary shield player for this team. Aniton obviously picking up a lot of those duties as well, but Shureep, whether he needs to frag, whether he needs to play on that Monty, can do it all, and today he's certainly doing more of the former.
Really cannot believe this performance by Shureep against G2. A hell of a start for a player who maybe just a lot of people don't know of if you don't watch the Japan League, which admittedly, if your audience is primarily European or at least North American, then the time zone might be a bit too much for you. I know that the vast majority of the games I watch in the Asia regions tend to come through rewatches because I'm usually asleep when the matches are on. The beautiful thing about having an esport like this is we are truly global. So there is Rainbow Six at almost all times of the day. Can't sleep, turn on Rainbow Six. Some of you might even be in the middle of the evening right now watching this matchup. Chibisu wanders haplessly into archives and gets picked off by Loira with the Boss G. The hands of a Vigil, a frightening thing for ranked players, especially frightening when you play at a top level and you don't miss your shots.
Great entry there. You got to kind of question what's going on with the solo Finka entry. Maybe just not expecting anybody to be down below. Dokeby might have been able to help with that, but they go Finka instead. Don't get much use out of it. There's no way. Trying for the second shot of the Boss G. Loira.
Why run back up? Why?
Yeah. Odd decision-making there coming out. Obviously, that Boss G at that range, insta one-shot. If you can hit the head, no doubt about it. But Loira missed the first shot and then tries to sprint past for the second, mistimes it a little bit and will get punished. So now you find yourself in a 4-4. Anatson down to 8 HP as he sits at the top of the square. Likely somebody was able to find an angle onto him. But with this bottom floor control, Cyclops can actually do quite a lot. They're going to have the Deimos down here, and he can hunch through the floorboards, try to get a vertical pick. You can see he's only got the smoke in the castle scan, so he cannot track Mira or Azami. But the other two operators, if they're not standing on hard floor, they could be really, they could be in danger from being shot from below by that Deimos pistol. But if he rotates around, there's still more going for a horizontal hit. And here we go.
Shuri finds Doki sitting completely unaware of what was happening. Death mark, but a missed opportunity for Shiraniko, gunned down by Ali Mao. That information was in hand for CAG, but they could not capitalize off of it. 30 seconds now for the Japanese squad to be able to pull off this execute. Ali Mao finished off by Uno's Nitro Cell. That's quite the gambit, isn't it? Blaz with 3 kills to his name. Usually you expect a better performance than that from this player. Anaton's on 8 HP, swapped the defuse kit over to Black Ray, who himself struggling with kills, but that's okay. That's not what you need him for. The cavalry is here. The cavalry finds you, and Black Ray, his second kill of the match. It's an impactful one. 5-3 CAG on G2's map.
Shureep, a monster performance again, dominating through that round. I believe it was another 4K coming out as G2. They're going to give Shureep some more time to yell across the stage and let him know his feelings. They call it a tactical timeout. Try to tune out Shureep during this. Of course, we do have some comments for the Cyclops players coming on out. Shureep has been phenomenal today. The 21-year-old joined CAG just at the start of this competitive season back in February. Cyclops not attending the 6th Invitational, so they picked him up right before, but weren't able to play with him there. Just barely missing out of that event. I believe 21st on the SI standings, if my memory is correct, last year, so didn't quite make it there. But regardless, having his impact now, and Cyclops in a good position to make their way to the 6th Invitational in 2025. Certainly going to be in a good spot if they can take down G2. If you're a G2 fan, I mean, it's too early to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Maybe starting to get some flashbacks. It wasn't that long ago that G2 were in phase 1 of the major, losing to a team from APAC. Wasn't Cyclops, wasn't CAG, it was Fear X last time that put the nail in the coffin for G2, sent them home. Again, it's important to remind the fans, this is a double elimination tournament. Phase 1, it's always double elim, so G2, they would have to lose twice to be eliminated from phase 1. And, you know, there's a BO3, plenty of game to play, and you know, they still come back. Tactical timeouts, they often shift the pace of the game quite drastically. So despite a good start for Cyclops on their attacks, going 2-0 since the halftime, G2 have all the opportunity in the world to bounce back from this, and we're going to see if the world champions, former, can do it.
I mean, this is where you really sound the alarm, and I'm glad that G2 called the timeout here. Things have not gone the way this second half, as I'm sure G2 had expected. They've come up empty-handed as Shureep is marching his way towards potentially breaking the single map kill record. It would require G2 to win a few more rounds. Overtime would give him the best bet for it, but 18 kills through 8 rounds is really quite something.
I gotta say, 6.0 KD ratio is something as a statistician you don't see very often. That's pretty ridiculous. Just pairing with the number of deaths that he has. He stayed alive in every round that Cyclops have won, which is incredible to say. But again, this looks to be a pretty direct hit from Cyclops. They've once again put Anderson on the shield. He's playing on that fuse this time around. They've got the ram up above, but is it just a distraction? A couple of players still in the supply closet down below towards the site. They don't seem to be moving in just yet, but they certainly have the opportunity to if they can find their way through sites. There's the first pick from Black Ray.
And he's finding a great amount of space. He sees a second player from G2 as well as Anaton, the literal shield, drawing in those bullets. Shureep finally on the board this round. It only took him 1 minute and 14 seconds. G2 down to 3 players. Some damage has been done to CAG, but they are still in excellent shape, Jesse. Toying now with Archives. Find an opening, Over towards small office, in towards open area. G2 will be feeling the heat for the final 90 seconds.
G2 need an answer, and Doki's hunting for one right now. They know if they just sit in sight in a 3v5, they're not gonna win. A shield's gonna run through their sight and cause massive havoc. But Doki, if he can't find the angle, there's not much he can do. Uno and Alma both in open area, so they're kind of pinned in at the moment. Doki's still hunting, but he's too obvious, and I think Cyclops, they're aware of what Doki wants to do. They're holding their angles. They're being patient right now. They know that G2 are in a position where if they don't make a move, they lose. So Cyclops are waiting for that move, and G2, they've gone for some attempts, but nothing that's actually resulted in a kill or a death just yet. Still top floor being utilized by the Ram. Anaton works his way down the stairs. Cyclops, they are perfectly happy with this game state. They are just waiting for their opportunity to get deep into sight, and I think at this point, G2, they're probably just gonna have to Baron down the hatches.
Down Uno goes, another pick for CAG. Shoereap looking for number 20. Chibisu on the board, and Shoereap finds two! If Shoereap's KD was a person, it could have voted. And it could also legally drink in America. 21 kills for Shoereap. My, what a performance it has been from CAG. G2 on the ropes. 3 rounds now in a row on attack for CAG Osaka.
What can you say about this guy, Shoereap? My goodness. This is his 3rd major. He was in Manchester, of course, with Cyclops at the start of the year. And he was actually in Copenhagen as well. Was not playing for CAG, but was playing on Northampton. They were eliminated from that tournament by Revan in last place. So not the greatest performance there. This is, if he can keep this up, no doubt going to be his best international showing that he's ever had. But even if he doesn't, very likely to break those records. We'll find the stats for you later on, but man, he has been having a hell of a performance now. The rest of the players, it's kind of funny, all of them are negative, by the way, on Cyclops. Chibisu's the closest at 5 and 6, Blackray -3, Anaton -1, Cyreneko -5. It is really the Shoereap show today.
He created a kill heatsink where Shoereap is just slowly eating all of the kills.
Yep.
Leaving nothing for anybody else. I think it's a bit disrespectful, if I'm being honest. I think you need to spread the kills around.
I agree. I think Shoereap, take a round off. Let your teammates have some fun, okay? You've been kind of dominated here. I think it would be fair, both to G2 and his teammates, if Shoereap, maybe he took a backline. He can be throwing Candelas in, right? But then maybe let your teammates run him for those kills. We'll see if he's willing to take me up on that offer. I imagine he likely will not, but you never know. Obviously, every new round, a new opportunity here. Interesting little hold inside of open area. The idea is not stopping the flow from G2. Doki starting to keep the hatch above him closed inside of stock with those 2 brow canisters. But that won't do anything for the Buck, who's able to just rip up those soft floorboards and still find those angles. They've also got the cluster charger, so once again, they could just force him back by using that fuse utility. Lots of options now for Cyclops, but Moira at the top, about to be faced with a Candela. What can he do with this?
Well, nothing, because he's immediately stopped by a Kiva barrier, and there will be another right thereafter. Loira tossing out all the utility at his disposal. 1 more now remains. That will be the final Kiva barrier. Slow down that advance on blue stairs, and oh my, Anaton eliminating Loira. Follow up with the Buck as well as Doki is dropped. Shoereap dies. That is huge for G2. As you pointed out, everybody else on CAG, their numbers are underwater. They've still got utility work on the side of the attackers. Buck still with skeleton keys. All 4 cluster charges still in back pocket of Anaton as well. And to make matters worse for CAG, just for a second, Doki's been picked back up.
All right, so we can stall things out for a moment. Cyclops, even man count and lots of time to work with, but their star player has gone down. This is an inflection point. Can the last 4 players on this team band together and find the round win? The Nitro Cell goes out, doesn't find anything. 1 more in the pocket of Doki as the first plant starts.
There goes there goes one of the toxic canisters. Another will follow. Chibisu eliminating Blaz. The toxic gas does not do anywhere near enough as the diffuser goes down, and CAG could be 40 seconds away from stealing G2's map. That'd be excellent for the Japanese team looking to make it out of the play-ins. For G2, could they meet the same fate as they saw in Manchester? Well, they're gonna have to be better than this map no matter what. Shiraniko and Chibisu with a kill apiece. And it's all up to Ali Mal. The lightning rod of G2 will have CAG channel their energy through him, and the Japanese team steals the European squad's map.
And to do it in the final round without your star player even there, I mean, that is a statement from CAG saying that, yes, Shureep is our star. Yes, he's going to be putting up 21 kills, but even if you find a pick on him early, the rest of us can still hang. Those toxic babes all missing from Uno, who frankly also didn't have the greatest of maps. 1 in 9, Uno's final stat tat. You're going to have to see him popping back up if they want to avoid being sent down to the lower bracket at the very first match of the major. Not the result that G2 were looking for up against the Japanese team, but CAG, they put on a monster performance and they absolutely deserve that win.
And Shureep did all this, by the way, with only playing the same operator on 2 separate occasions. So playing operator roulette, Fenrir twice and Ying twice. Beyond that, Shureep played Lion, played Ace, played Skobos, played Oryx, all over the place. And that just really goes to show you the testament of a great player, as somebody who, on the same role but with different operators and different responsibilities, can still have such a massive impact on the match. And there you go, on your screen, an incredible performance by CAG as they stun G2 on the second half. We thought that when we got finished with G2 on attack and CAG on defense, that we would have quite a match ahead of us. That really wasn't the case in terms of competitiveness, but it really was if you were a fan of CAG Osaka. Shuri finishing with 21 kills. What an impressive scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely domination. Again, in the regular season, he was the Monty player for CAG as well. I kind of think CAG should keep banning the shields. Obviously, we still saw quite a bit of Fuse Shield coming out, and Anaton played that expertly, I have to say, as well. Some really good Fuse Shield coming out from both teams. We saw it from G2 as well, but I think Anaton proving that he is the master. Respect your elders when it comes to the shield play, because he's been doing it longer than anybody else.
I do want to issue a correction here. I believe officially Shuri finished with 20 kills, because one of those kills was technically a downed player, which means that you don't actually get credited with the kill. It pops up saying you got the kill, but you didn't actually get the kill because you didn't get the down. You just finished them off. You did the easier part of the job. What is going to happen on map number 2? CAG Osaka picked this map, and maybe unexpectedly, they arrive on it with a 1-0 lead. Sit tight. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Available now.
right, well, map number 1 didn't go the way that G2 had anticipated, and it also happened to be their map, so it doubly didn't go in their direction. But if you are a fan of CAG Osaka, or if you are not a G2 enjoyer, you are very happy with those results. If you could think of one word to describe map 1, Jesse, what word would it be?
I would use the word shoe reap.
Is that a real word?
It is now.
Okay, why would you use that word, Jesse?
Well, Parker, I would use the word shoe reap because he dropped over 20 kills, putting up a ridiculous performance. And certainly, if this game does go the distance, we're going to be looking at those numbers when it comes to BO3 kill records. Didn't break the 1-map kill record. It didn't go long enough, frankly. G2 needed to win a few more rounds for us to get into that conversation. But shoe reap, a ridiculous performance to start us off, obviously putting up a monster kill total. He's been one of the best players, 20 and 3, you can see there. A 2.0 kill per round, just ridiculous. And the consistency of him as well is what really shocked me the most. He only died in the rounds that they lost, up until the very final round. He was staying alive in every single round that CAG were winning. So if he can keep up that performance, he will be a monster that G2 have to tackle. And they'll be tackling it on Cafe, which G2 fans will be pleased to know is a map that G2 haven't won all stage. They've played it one time. They lost to Virtus Pro. That was 7-3. This is not a crazy good map for CAG either, but clearly they're picking it because it's not a map that G2 enjoy to play, and so already going into it with maybe a bit of a rocky mental could be bad news.
Yeah, I mean, if you think like, hey, this isn't our greatest map, but we're good enough at it, and we think that there's a major deficit in the way that our opponents play it, then this is a very advantageous spot for us to go to. And this is going to be where CAG Osaka could deliver not a knockout blow, but a knockdown blow in the play-ins. It was only a year and a half ago that G2 lifted the hammer in this exact same city, and they could suffer the very first defeat of the Montreal Major. We go to map 2 of Cafe. CAG picked this map. They start on defense, G2 on attack. Your favorite part of the day, Jesse, the operator bans.
And my big question here, was it going to be Monty or Ying? CAG always banned the Ying on Cafe, but given how well the shield bans worked on Bank, I wondered if they would replicate that. They don't. This pick from G2 is tough to say. They will stay on the same track. They'll take out the Monty instead. Still wanted to remove that from play. Makes a lot of sense for G2. They wanted to take that out, the shields out previously. They continue with that. This should be a Fenrir. G2 hate Fenrir on this map. They ban it every time they play, and it's Valk this time. Okay, bit of a switch up. I say every time. It's like 80% or something. It's not actually every time, but it's pretty close that they ban Fenrir. So taking out Valk, that's one of the operators that CAG will ban sometimes. Could be an Echo and a Zombie, a Mute. They could go for the Fenrir ban here, but it's Castle instead. Okay, a new one for CAG. I haven't seen that ban from them on this map before, so gonna be kind of interesting. Surely they've read into G2's play a little bit. Probably saw some Castle strats that they didn't want to go up against, so they'll take that out instead. Does leave a Zombie on the board, who can often just be a better Castle in many situations. Obviously more versatile, got more of those Kiva barriers as well, but are more susceptible to bullets. So if they're wanting to run more DMRs, they want to play some Dokkaebi, could have some answers to those Kiva barriers that otherwise wouldn't be able to answer to the Castles.
Castle got a decent amount of picks over on Bank. Of the 10 rounds that were played, a Castle was used in 4 of those 10 rounds. So quite respectable for a defender who is not usually a meta pick. Castle is very site dependent, he's map dependent, he's also very team dependent.
For sure.
As for Ying, Dokkaebi, and Monty are 3 of the strongest operators at the moment in the game. It does not surprise me at all to see a Ying ban come out from CAG, though admittedly, G2 didn't play this operator on Bank. It was CAG who used the operator. Obviously, if you watch G2's match against Virtus Pro and then go back and look at some of the historical prevalence of Ying on this map, I can understand why CAG would get rid of her.
And we've got our first play of the game. Anaton prepping the Nitro cell. If he finds a shield, that would be a great opening pick, but Alamau, is he going that direction? I don't believe they have intel on this. Certainly they'll have sound. He's walking to this part of the map, now getting on Rappel, a run out instead. Anaton, now he preps the C4, tosses it over. I think it's a little far, barely.
Jesse, who
Smoke is outside too.
Jesse, who just got the first kill of the game?
I didn't even notice that.
It was
again.
Shuri. It was Shuri.
He's outside the building on smoke, tossing out toxic babes. He does get punished, but the damage is there already. 1-1 to start things off. CAG, they don't want to stop any of the momentum from Bank.
The thing is Shuri did actually finish the previous matchup with 21 kills, and this might be quite relevant for the overall best-of-3 kill record, depending on what happens here on Cafe and what might occur on Consulate if we need that for map number 3. But the way that map number 1 went, I'm thinking that Consulate is not exactly on the menu at the moment, but I'm always open to surprises.
Again, G2 are a great Consulate team. So if we get there, that should be a phenomenal game, but getting there is the problem. I should note as well, G2 got to choose what side they wanted to start on. They chose to start attack here, which is an interesting decision because most teams would say that Cafe is somewhat defender-sided. So G2, a bit of an interesting choice there, but regardless, they're going to have to play both sides. They're going to have to succeed on both sides as well. And here we have G2 already inside of Train, trying to find their way into the site. 1:30 left on the clock. Top floor firmly being held by CAG. They haven't had to give that up just yet. Chibisu and Black Ray still maintain their positioning up there. So G2, instead of clearing that out, they're going to go straight in through mining. They're going to go straight in through Train and try to get a plant down inside of Dining. But this seems pretty readable, especially with a Pulse being played by Anison. He's going to have that information. They're going to have top-down cover to try to deny this as well, or at least pressure from inside of Piano. This is going to be an awkward push.
Anaton sees some markers over towards that fireplace, and Uno has to guard Ali Mao. Finds one kill on the Black Ray. Chibisu shuts him down, and now with the shield and the team on his back, it's Ali Mao. But Anaton gets the very final kill, and CAG starts off with a successful defense. 3 of their players still alive as they manage to counter disable and go up by 1. Is it happening again?
I will say, at the start of Bank, it was G2 that really controlled the pace of the game, right? They got a 3-3 half to start things off, but every round they were going direct to site. They were hitting very early. They wanted to find that early gunfights, and they were often forcing that issue. Despite starting on attack again, CAG were able to grab hold of that momentum and dictate how that round started with a crazy Pulse jump out play where we saw Shurip out the window on smoke and then Anaton prepping the Nitro on the Pulse. It didn't go phenomenally for them. They went 1 for 1, but it was enough to throw off the push from G2, right? It was enough to disrupt what they wanted to do instead of going for that full top-down clear, which is what most teams will do on Reading Room site. That is the meta. That's how you want to be pushing that site. Instead, they have to go to a backup plan. They've got to go in through Train, and I liked the idea of planting under smoke with a blitz, because then you're covered horizontally. You can't be shot from one direction. Maybe they could find your feet, but through the smoke, that's going to be really impossible. Cool idea for a plant. Everybody else died, though. Again, with full top floor control, positioning was really good for CAG. They didn't have to worry about any sort of flanks, any sort of pinches. They knew exactly where the G2 guys were at and were easily able to collapse in on them and find all those kills. So a good plant from G2, but nothing else really going their way. And Shurip, he's not done with the shenanigans, Parker. He wants to get right back at it. Here's the spawn peak.
Oh, he gets real frisky. Ooh. And almost another. It's very ballsy to do that with a Vector in hand. Blaz has had a very rough go of it in this series so far. Unsuccessful in round number 1. Reason why you bring in players like Blaz and Loira, their deployment is usually towards the front of your offense. These are 2 players that you come to expect to be in early engagements for G2. And if you know the history of both these players, you assume that they win most of their engagements. Well, very few people have won an engagement against Shurip so far. Through all of map number 1 and now to this point of map number 2, Shurip has just 5 deaths. That is an insanely low number. Shirniko dies onto an ill-timed peak up on that second floor, and G2's on the board first.
Big opportunity for G2 now. They've got a man advantage, and Shurip is isolated alone all the way on the top floor. If they get a clean pick onto Shurip, they'd be in a really good position to get an easy 3v5 conversion, but they don't know he's there, Parker! He finds Loira. There's no information at all that he has worked his way up inside a cocktail, and that's the buck that's taken off the board. Half of your oh-so-important soft breach, they still don't know where he is. He's inside of Laundry. Any swing would get an easy free pick on Alamau unless he finds the information. There's the drone, there's the impact, there's the swing, and Alamau cleans him up.
I do like the attempt there.
Yeah.
Because if you go through the rotate over towards Reading, they can potentially redrone you and pinch you from that point. Go for the advantage that you have by surprising your opponent. Surprise obviously doesn't work, but the big bad of CAG is gone. 2 rounds in a row that CAG will have to deal with a G2 execute without their best player. And they can hold on for as much hope as they need. Chibisu, all 3 kills that remain between the 3 players. Over towards Brown Stairs. Chibisu assesses one player from G2, looking for yet another, but can't find it for the time being. Now just wasting time over towards VIP, and Doki wanders over towards delivery, dies, and Chibisu is primed to maybe get a 5th.
4-0 at the moment. Don't forget about that. There's Alamau, though, finding Anaton, keeping the man advantage in favor of G2, but they've worked their way back to site. They're going to have Evil Eyes all over this basement bomb site, too. The push moves towards Bakery. Chibisu and Blackray with lots of information. They've got the ability to swing on this, and with the shotgun, Chibisu, he's ready.
So deadly at this range, but he pulls out the sidearm instead. You should have held the position with your shotgun in hand. Blackray now will have to deal with target prioritization. You mentioned, all the information they're gonna get out of these Evil Eyes. Down goes Blaz. Blackray sees the time continuing to go down. Uno will need to get diffuser in hand. Alimel watching over top. There go the tracers. And he manages to find him. Shooting to his left, shooting to his right, and G2 is on the board.
All right, I think at this point now we're seeing CAG. They're getting a little cute with it, okay? Back-to-back rounds, going for aggressive spawn peaks, aggressive jump outs. They're going okay, they're not going great. And then the miss drone from Shoereap was great, the fact that he didn't get caught up there. But if he had been droned, if they had a Dokkaebi or something, he's probably dead without a kill. So that round, it honestly went closer than I think it should have if G2 were playing that more disciplined, if they've gotten the free clear on the Shoereap. They didn't get that, so it was a little bit messy towards the end there. But regardless, I think CAG, they're taking a lot of opportunities. You're playing a site like Kitchen on Cafe, right? You're playing a site with a lot of utility. You got 3 Evil Eyes in sight. Doki hacked none of them playing the Brava. Could have played around with that utility a little bit more. Instead, they're taking aggressive swings, and they're winning them. A lot of the time, they really are. But I think G2, they're very much aware of the style of play that CAG want to run here. First couple of rounds, on every map, are going to be kind of feeling out your opponent. And I think G2 have a good read of this. I like the way that they adapted and found a lot of those picks in the early round to keep that man advantage and take down CAG. So, a good 1-1 scoreline now. We've got a competitive game on our hands. The question is, do CAG adapt? Do they go for a bit more of a passive playstyle, or are they once again going to be jumping out windows and taking the fight directly to the Europeans?
A belated setup now still being done on this middle floor as we see a dining and train / mining defense. All 4 bomb sites very easily defendable on Cafe. The success rate of the bomb site obviously varies, but they are capable of being played, and it's not uncommon to see teams run through all 4. The middle floor bomb sites really do tend to be up to your team's preference. The top floor bomb site is the one that most teams seem to avoid. Despite that, every team will usually stick 1 defender on that top floor. Oh my, Shoereap takes out Uno, and it's a frenzy of kills as 4 players are wiped off the map, 2 from each team.
Fair enough, I suppose. I mean, you lose the Grim, which is not great for G2. That's one of your big execute operators, but you also cleared out the Pulse, which is a good late-round operator for CAG. So I think this is fine. The one thing that we really do like for G2 is that they got this without wasting very much time at all, right? Less than 60 seconds to clear out 2 players on the top floor. Yeah, you lost 2 bodies, but I think that's okay. They've still got good soft reach potential up above. I say that actually, Alamau not running the secondary shotgun on Striker, running the pistol instead. Whether that was intentional or not, he's not going to have that ability to rip up the floorboards like often you would want to see from one of those new recruits that have joined the game somewhat recently. Lots of soft breach still on Loira, but not utilizing it at the moment. Doki working his way down. He's got a drone in front of him, hunting for one of these picks in the Deimos tracker as well. Will find the Mozzie, but it might be Anaton that he finds first.
Sees the shoulder for a second. Doki positioned differently, and that's where perspective will really come back to haunt you. Doki looking in a different direction, probably didn't even see Anaton on his screen. As we saw in a couple rounds on Bank, the 2 Brazilians will now be the last 2 standing for G2. Loira and Alimau looking towards this dining bomb site. Alimau far removed, he's closer towards B. Loira has the attention of CAG. Just as we saw on Bank, CAG Osaka, great patience for the time being. Annington has lost some of his coverage, but Chibisu is there to refrag immediately on White Stairs.
ちょっとさ、立ちんちゃう実さ。
This is a different looking CAG at this event so far. Maybe it's just G2 is a weakened opponent. But CAG aren't making the same mistakes against G2 that we typically see them make against other opponents at previous live events.
Yeah, I would say that this second map of Cafe has been very different from the first map of Bank, right? The pacing of it's been different. The operators we're seeing are very different. You saw a lot of shield play on Bank. Less shield play now that fewer shields are banned in this game. But regardless, what we're seeing is a lot of mistakes coming out of G2 in these early rounds too. Doki, I gotta say, through both map 1 and map 2, not putting up his usual performance. That Deimos play there, not exactly what you typically see. I would say that Doki is one of the greatest Deimos players in the world. Deimos is not an easy operator to play. There's a handful of players that run this operator really, really well. At top of my head, it's probably like Doki, Shaiko, and maybe like Ambi that really play that operator at a very, very high level. There are others for sure, but I mean, these are kind of the players that you're expecting to see pop off of this operator, and Doki, on both Bank and here on Cafe, hasn't really found that same success on one of the most powerful attackers that we see in Rainbow Six Siege. He'll re-pick off the operator, go to the Nomad instead this time, so maybe we'll find some better luck over there. It's another spawn peek from CAG, because of course it is. Shirip trying to get lucky with one of those headshots, doesn't quite get it. Gets out with all his HP though, so no harm, no foul, he's fine.
I think you noted on in the previous map was how even the CAG team was outside of Shuri. The same can be said so far for Cafe. Chibisu, the only player who's managed to get himself ahead of the pack. The rest all sequestered all together, clustered up. It's good for a team like CAG. I mean, you can talk to some pros and you can ask whether having one outstanding player who is head and shoulders better than the rest of your team is better than having an evenly matched team, but for a team like CAG, as long as everybody is showing up, that's great news. The standout performer on the wrong side of CAG in that very first map would go to Black Ray, but that's because of the role he plays, so we expect that of him.
A lot of intel on the side of CAG right now. Chibisu not only putting up 5 kills, but he's hacked 2 drones this round. You can see that on the HUD, the little 2 just above his pistol. That means he's hacked 2 of those, and he's been flicking through them very frequently. Black Ray finds the opening pick onto Loira. Of course, intel from that pulse down below as well means that there are so many information points from CAG. Shuri finds another onto Alamau all across the map. This top floor clear doesn't go their way. They don't find any picks down on the main floor either. Chibisu's not done. 6-1 now is his stat line, leaving Uno and Blaz alone now in a 2v5, trying to bail G2 out of this hole or also get even deeper. CAG were about to be finding their 3rd defense now, meaning they can't lose the half. 1:14 on the clock, but it doesn't matter. All the players are just bleeding out. Blaz gets 1 for his troubles, but it'd have to be a miracle to make it count.
Be denied entry over towards Reading as well, Jesse, with still well over a minute to go at this point. Flash striking off a bunch of damage, and it's Shuri who might be heating up now on Cafe to seal the deal. Is that 3 kills in this round for Shuri as CAG's lead stretches. 3-1 the scoreline. Doing it on presumably the worst side, and it prompts G2 to call their timeout.
You can focus on the kills.
Sometimes I do.
We're here to the CAG comms.
I was going to say, we're going to listen.
For example, like the guy hiding already drone, but like in Uno drone, and then if there is nothing, and then the guy just came up and pick him because the guy knew we are already drone there and was already clear. Okay, but the other thing, what's most matter, guys, let's put our head.
でも3階これイーストセットきそうだね今回。
3階と
Shouldn't have anything to open blanks, clean the blanks guy like together. We don't even prove like how we gonna push the guy. Okay, so let's put our heads in the fucking game and let's like solve the problems. Like the guy who gonna kill him. Okay, I want the answers. The answers.
Let's go, boys.
They need answers on G2. The coach, Ramalho, of course, giving his best speech to his boys. Don't want to be repeating the unfortunate circumstances of Manchester. I will say, you can focus on the kills as CAG have certainly been leading in that category, finding a lot of those opening picks. Those aggressive moves have been going their way more often than not. But I think the utility is just as important. Oftentimes, you're seeing these niche operator utilities coming out, favoring CAG. In the most recent round, those Mozzie Pests, of course, catching 2 drones. Quite rare in competitive play for drones to be actually captured by a Mozzie. Usually it's more drone denial. Maybe you get 1 in a round. To get 2 is quite unorthodox. And then even down on the kitchen bomb site, you know, we saw the Maestro being played by CAG. Doesn't maybe take that much technical skill to put up those Maestro cams, but to avoid being hacked by the Bravo, which was brought by G2, is difficult to do so, and CAG were able to do that perfectly when they defended that bomb site. So it really feels like CAG are bringing a lot of operators that can work with good intel, work with a lot of that information for their team, and G2 don't have good answers to it. I say that, round 5, they brought 0 intel operators, so we won't be seeing that here, other than the Clash. But still, watch out for that over the next couple of rounds, because that could be a real problem that G2 need to solve.
I like that we have the return of the listed ins. It was actually here in Montreal a year and a half ago when we really got our first taste of hearing what the coaches had to say to the players. Hasn't been quite as consistent across live events since then, but it was something that the fans really appreciated, and oh my goodness. Black Ray, what are you doing? Wandering over towards that heaven window, getting picked off by an upside down alley mount. Doki is removed. You praised his Deimos abilities, and it will be yet another round where this operator will show very little effectiveness for G2 as Doki sits at 1 and 5.
Dying every single round so far. Obviously, primary entry on G2. You don't expect him to be surviving so long, but regardless, the 1 is maybe the bigger issue. Still top floor control. 3 of the 4 players left on CAG locking this down. It's Sireneko who's playing down below as well. A lot of rooftop control from G2 instead. Obviously, top floor bomb site going to be important to toss in some of these Bs from Grim, get that information. The Lion scans can give you intel as well. It's important this Clash, you could deny it from below if you had the proper utility, but you don't even hold the bottom floor. Of course, still Shireneko is locking that down, but Uno getting ready to go. The Lion charge comes out, so do the Bees. This will be the execute from G2.
Still on the hatch, still looking for a drop. As Uno surveys the spots down below, and they don't find it, and it looked like the execute was going to happen, but there's a bit of a pause from G2. Nades go out, Blaz and Alimau on the board. CAG left to just 2 players, one of which is the Clash of Anaton. Now it's all Shireneko holding this position, good enough for a single kill, but there's the G2 that we come to expect. They found an opening early on the Black Ray on that new Balk window, and they snowballed from there, taking map control on that top floor, pinching CAG, punishing them for it. A 3-3 first half was what we had on Bank. It looks very likely that we will have it on our second map.
All right, a chill, very patient round comes on out from G2.
Like, when I'm playing Cyclops, I always peek this guy like a crazy guy. Let's go.
You're gonna play Shaiko and peek the guy like crazy, if I heard that correctly from Alamau. So I'm excited to see what we see in this round. Obviously, we've got one more round in the second half, and G2 are looking to win it to be able to bounce back and find that second, that even 50-50 split. That's what they got on Bank. Didn't do them too much good, but
Train work. Train rush works.
Are you sure it's train? It might be rain. Go up right, go right. Yeah.
Train rush, I'm hearing them say. Train rush works. Doki says, are you sure it's train? It might be reading. It's train. They're correct. It's a mining and dining bomb site.
It's just a matter of physics. Trains can't really rush. I don't know if they're... I mean, they're European, so we can't even make a joke.
Of course they could. In Japan, especially, they got the bullet trains. Those things go crazy fast. They're rushing for sure.
It's consistent.
No, they stop and they gotta speed up. They're rushing to get to their locations.
Anyway. Final round of the first half. This is CAG's map, which means they don't get to choose the side they start on. G2 opted to go on to attack with the presumption that it would be the better side. For the first couple rounds, it did not work. 3 separate players from CAG all collecting kills. Alimo and Blaz now on the board. They're the last 2 standing for G2, and they've got their work cut out for them. Shireneko and Chibisu have been removed from action. You still got Shu Reap up, admittedly on 30 HP. Same with Black Ray, also on 30 HP. That's a single bullet from most guns. Technically, if you want to get pedantic, you only need 5 bullets to win a single round of Rainbow Six because a headshot is an instant kill. Alimo and Blaz now working together. They see the B bomb site, and despite the fact that there's still just shy of 2 minutes left, G2 have made excellent timing so far, taking up map control. CAG can just sit and wait. Again, the patience that has been shown by these Japanese team has been quite good on bank, and it's carried over to Cafe as well.
Yeah, to me, it's an awkward spot for G2, though, right? They went for the train rush. It got immediately flattened. Disruption on the tracks. CAG were able to stop that quite simply by holding the window they were all jumping in. Now G2, they're trying to take their time in drone. There's 2 players in train. That's 2/3, and they see both of them. With this information, could they capitalize and get a couple of kills? They need it in their man disadvantage.
Oh, Alimau walking in, and 2 remarkable shots. It's all up to Shureep, the man of the hour. In a 1v1, Alimau with 3 HP. There are goo mines that could be around. Shureep walking up, finding a small opening, missing an opportunity. That's information, by the way, that Blaz is going to give. Alimau will stare him down, and he's going to hear the tussling inside of that B bomb site. He really doesn't have much of an option here. He has to try to bait out Shureep, and that's exactly what he'll do, and Shureep sees him much quicker than I think Alimau was expecting. The first half in the books, and it's CAG to come out on top of the side they did not choose to start on.
The MVP performance from Shureep continues here on map 2. You gotta love this player, not only putting up the numbers, but letting him know that he's doing it too.
I gotta go goal impacts. Yeah.
A team that is usually very vocal, and a team that is typically high-flying, vibing an awful lot, is remarkably quiet. G2 sitting and stewing, knowing that this has not been the start to the Montreal major that they wanted. You talked about the results that they had in Manchester being quite the disappointment. Well, Montreal is not shaping up to be much better, at least so far. It's not one and you're done, though, so G2, even if they lose here, will still have a chance at a comeback later on. Not today, as they won't be competing for the rest of the day, but tomorrow will be the final day of play-ins to determine who makes it into our second phase.
G2 moved to the defense now. When they played Cafe, the one and only time this stage before this matchup against Virtus Pro, they started on the defense. They won 2 rounds of their 6 attempts. VP got the 4-2 half and, of course, closed out the game from there. So G2, previously not the best on this side of the map, but only a sample size of 1 map. You don't want to read into that too heavily. And CAG bringing out some strats that I'm not sure Virtus Pro were quite aligned with. Sheeran Echo on the Amaru, ready to go for an aggressive jump in, potentially on the upstairs window into the bathroom hall. Might be able to find a pick. It's going to be the Wamai of Loira who would meet him should he jump on in quickly, but it's Blaz instead to find the first gunfight from G2. Shureep sneaks up red stairs. What a good play on that Dokkaebi. Didn't even have to pop a logic bomb, but if he gets this kill, that could be 2 frags. It's a Goyo down below of Alimau. Managed to flash him and get away.
It's 31 kills so far for Shureep, by the way.
Yeah.
Not to be had for 32. He'll have to wait another round as Alimau was expecting him at the bottom of red stairs. Capitalizing off of the quick push from the Dokkaebi. And with the time being what it is, CAG did not find value from those logic bombs. Dokkaebi is not just an operator with a good kit, it's her gadget. It is often so effective, CAG will have to do battle without it. I mean, G2 was still able to do the same without Deimos on 2 separate attempts on attack, so not all hope is lost here. 4v4 with just about half the round to go.
Yeah, and like no map control at all from CAG, right? Not even in the building, all on the roof, on the rappels. You can still get kills. This is Cafe, so it's not uncommon for teams to mostly be on the roof, especially for a top 4 bomb site. But at some point, you'd likely want to be getting control of Cigar, getting control of Piano, get some of that map control before you go for your final execute. Still waiting on this Amaru hook as well. Sheeran Echo is holding it, and the Capital is being held as well. Here comes all the utility and the push soon to follow. Here it goes.
There's the drop in. Sheeran Eco has to find something. Loira, very first kill of this execute. Chibisu on the board. Doki eliminating Sheeran Eco, and now it's Chibisu following up, but it's G2 clobbering CAG.
Good job, guys. Good job, guys. Good job.
Maybe just a defender-sided Cafe. You ever think about that? G2 trails by 1, but they've closed the gap to as close as you can get without a tie.
I just want to go piano hole, try.
Let's go.
I mean, solid first defense. You're going to be very happy with that. Shurip down below, playing with confidence, of course. Got that opening pick, which was nice to see. Had a logic bomb, but was too afraid to use it. Obviously, if you pop that logic bomb, you've got to put your gun down for a moment, and so thought it was more apt to just take the 1v1 fair fight against Alamau. Ended up losing it, getting traded out. I will say, had he been successful, and Shurip very rarely is not successful with those gunfights today, that would have been a 5v3 advantage that CAG likely could have snowballed into a round win. Really important that Alamau got that one. We talk a lot about Shurip, but it's actually Alamau leading this map in terms of kills, 11 and 5 to start off Cafe. Again, he's been so consistent for G2 all year long. He's been their best player, their IGL. Had a huge impact for this squad, and we're seeing that once again. But he needs some help, of course. A lot of his teammates not really putting up the same numbers. I talked about Doki struggling a little bit on the demos. Won't be running that operator, of course, on the defense, but still only 2 and 6. We're seeing Loira as well. Loira, the young Brazilian, just joined this team, was playing with Alamau, living with Alamau throughout the stage. You saw in all their player cams, if you watched EUL, that they were playing together in the same room for every one of their pro matches. For a guy like Loira, who's so young coming onto this team, it's his first international event, having a mentor like Alamau's got to be instrumental in terms of his development. But still young, still early on in his career, will be making mistakes in a high-pressure environment like this one, and they're going to need him to be very consistent for the rest of this map because they are still in a deficit despite being up 1-0 in the half.
Real struggles that we've seen from CAG in international events past to bend these attacks. How can they find their footing? If Shurip is not able to show up, does the rest of the team have what it takes? Because Black Ray, Anaton, and Shirniko are in the same position that they were in back in map number 1, which is their numbers are underwater. Chibisu having a very strong start to map number 2. As long as his numbers don't peter out, he should be okay. Down goes Shurip, though. And now Anaton taking an awful lot of damage as he looks to clear out the top floor, missing a golden opportunity to take out Loira, who looks for a second and finds it onto Shiraniko, pivoting towards a third, but G2 are cleaning up the mess, and they tie the game.
Let's go, guys. Come back on the shit, guys. Let's fucking go. Good job, Loira. Bro.
A flawless round for G2 as they tie it up at 4 rounds apiece.
When you said this was with you, I was thinking, plus the round.
I talk about Loira, man. The young guy on G2 being coached in by Alamau. You hear the support there right after he has a big round to be able to win it for G2 and equalize now at a 4-4 as attack timeout does come through from CAG. Very good stuff. If they can continue rolling on this defense, that could be the momentum that they need to send it to Consulate, which is map 3. And once again, Consulate is one of G2's best maps by far.
Okay, so let's keep doing these things, okay? Like, talk about the operators, but also talk about like the
Reason why we tend to stick on a team like G2, despite this being CAG Osaka's timeout, is that, well, we suspect this being an English stream, most people watching speak English.
Okay.
Likely. We do have a Japanese broadcast.
We do, of course, but that's not this one.
Nope.
Correct. So listening to CAG Osaka's timeout would likely not be as helpful as they speak in Japanese. Whereas we gain a lot more listening to G2 talk through the process. And I mean, you've been able to hear them. Try to parse what's going on with CAG. How best to approach this. How best to change things up. And slowly but surely, the enthusiasm and motivation from G2 is returning.
Bottom floor site will be the 3rd choice for G2, of course. First 2 sites will be locked up until at least the 4th quarter of the game. CAG, they've got a lot of tools at their disposal, right? I mean, you heard G2 talking that attack timeout. Call out what the operators are. Focus on what the lineup's going to be. You want to have that information. You want to know what's coming before the execute starts from Cyclops. And this round, it's going to be a lot. You've got the Blitz being brought in by Anaton, of course. One of the best Blitz players in the entire world. You've got Black Ray on the Grim for that information. You've got the Dokubi from Shiraneko as well. The Buck is an interesting call, too. This makes me wonder if they are going to go for a top-down take. Loira, look at this. Wanting to maintain the momentum from the last round. Can he find an aggressive pick right off the start of the round, Parker? Maybe not.
It looked like Loira was going to go for either a run out or a jump out, but Maybe another day.
It's fine, didn't see anything. Blackray finds something. There's Blaz taken off the board immediately. Blackray up here on the top floor. Blaz going for something kind of aggressive on the brown stairs. No need for that. This is a full anchor execute. You've got 5 players that are supposed to be sitting down in the basement. That's your warden off of the board, a hugely important operator for the late round. That is going to hurt. Take a look at the secondary utility. 4 smokes and 3 flashbangs all being brought by CAG. Now there is no operator inside of G2 that's going to be unaffected by that utility.
Is the Blackray solo entering upstairs with Diffuser Kit? If he loses that 1v1 to Blaz, that could have been devastating for CAG. Alimau will continue his triumphant second map as he eliminates Blackray, and that will be the case down, so somebody from CAG will have to retrieve it. As Alimau is looking for more on that same position, CAG will have to assert themselves on and had just done so moments before. Loira holding down VIP with Alimau not far removed is a nice cross-section of this map. They've got a huge amount of map control just between the two of them.
Blast going down also means the cameras were hacked by Sheer and Echo, so now all of those Echo cams are going to be spotted and controlled by the attackers. Of course, can still be driven around and can still be used by Uno, but the intel will all be for CAG as well, so you've got to be really smart with how you use those. Of course, you saw the default cam being shot out too. Here's the blitz now in onto VIP. There's no warden, so that's a freebie right onto Loira to get the man advantage. Now one more, not even looking at the blitz. Anaton, it's free hunting season. He goes and finds 2 big kills, leaving just Doki and Uno alone in the site.
And depending on where those yokais are, there might be a saving grace for G2. They've got 2 toxic canisters. And maybe those drones kicking from Uno. Those will be helpful, but you got to stay alive. Something that Doki learns the hard way. All up to the Finn. His position given away by the logic bomb. He'll fire away from Bakery. And whatever motivation and whatever momentum G2 had has evaporated after the tail end of that round. A timeout called by CAG immediately translates into a round victory, and they are 2 away from sending G2 down, down, down.
Opening picks are an interesting stat to look at, right? Because sometimes they're not that impactful. If you get an opening pick, right, maybe it's 45 seconds left in the round and immediately gets traded. Often that's not a good indicator of are you going to win the round or not. But in a round like that, where you get an opening pick right off the bat, immediately, and you get Dokkaebi information off of it, you are able to take down a critical operator like a Warden and then hack his phone so that you can see the information to the yokais. It's such a big advantage for a team like CAG, and Blackray obviously finding that opening. You don't expect him. He's the hard breach. He's the planter. You don't expect him to be always getting into those opening engagements, and typically he's not. But when he finds himself in that top floor and he looks over to brown stairs and he sees a little head, well, you may as well click it if it's right there. He's able to find a hugely impactful opening frag, and yes, it was traded back, but the intel advantage that was given to CAG was so worth it. So they were very happy heading into that late round, and of course the blitz. No counters at all to that operator. So really good stuff coming from CAG, abusing all of their mechanics, the Dokkaebi, the blitz, all of these powerful operators that are defining the meta in 2024 being used perfectly by CAG. Now they're up 5-4. Of course, G2 back in a round deficit, gonna have to be able to work their way on defense. The nice thing is the only round they've lost was the tertiary site. So you don't expect to be winning that anyways. If they get that 4-2 split, if they can win their 2 primary bomb sites again, they'll at least secure themselves overtime.
Good mix so far for all these bomb sites that have been played up to this point. All 4 have emerged, which again, go back to a comment that was made early on about how there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of viability on this map.
Yep.
CAG successfully defended Reading Room and Fireplace the last time they went to it. Now the troubling part is winning it on attack.
A lot of intel up here that has been kind of forced back. They had mirror windows up around bathroom. Those will get popped now with the X-Kairos. All 6 X-Kairos being used on this. You can pop a window with 2, but 6 do the job as well. Blackray 12 more to play with. Still working their way through the top floor. They basically forced everyone out at this point. Alimau and Loira remain inside of Cocktail, but they're quite pushed back. You can see they're not really in towards Piano. They're not in Cigar. You've given up a lot of that space. Since the bomb site is reading, this is what matters. Cocktail control is what's important. So G2 not going to die for the less important parts of this map. And Doki in an awkward position. Alimau finds the entry.
Chibisu dies, Anaton trades out Loira. really sure what Loira was thinking on that particular engagement. CAG now need to tackle the rest of this top floor, but Ali Mao, a successful job to hold it down as he collects Black Ray, Shiraniko dies, and now Shuripa will walk right in as well. Shouldn't really be a deficit of information for the CAG team as Ali Mao gets yet another pick. 3K on the round for him by my count. And G2 will again equalize, so we will need all 12 rounds of regulation on map 2. Both teams still capable of winning so far through regulation. But CAG just seemingly not having any understanding of where G2 was defending. They still had 5 drones at the time of the round ending. Whether it was that those drones were maybe in poor spots or maybe the players who had them had been some of the first to pick off, I'm not sure. We don't have that information. But it really shouldn't have been such a great deal of trouble for CAG to figure out where G2 was, and most importantly, where Ali Mao was.
I think they knew where he was, but when he's floating, what can you do, Parker? It was the Brazilian duo roaming up inside of Cocktail. You had Loira and Alamau. One of those players jumped out the window and died without getting any kills. But one of the players killed almost everybody else on the map, and so it all worked out. It all evens out for a successful roam from G2. Who got the kills, who didn't, it's kind of a wash. What's important is the roamers that were inside of Cocktail won that for G2. CAG, no ability to root them out of that spot, no ability to trade, as Alamau just found shot after shot he hit. Amazing flick after flick, of course, with the DMR. Not an easy position to play, but Alamau, he's been doing this for a moment now. Of course, is very experienced in those situations, so he plays it perfectly. 16-6 now. We were just talking about Shuri being ridiculous with 21 kills on bank. Alamau just an ace away from matching that count total. Only an ace. One round, you can count that up, and he'll have at least 2 to try to equalize that kill total. This one feels like it's headed to overtime, but it also has been so swingy with multiple teams going on multiple round streaks that it really could finish in regulation, and I wouldn't be surprised. More utility play coming out, of course, with these Kiba barriers. We talked about how the Kiba's Azami wasn't banned out, it was Castle instead. It means that Loira has a lot of protection up here, and he can use this to keep his mirror window safe as well. They're wasting a ton of time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have an Azami and a mirror on the board, over towards Piano is where you will typically find them. Ali Mao's been loving that Aruni, and guess where he is positioned? Right now, inside a back bar, long range, he can do some serious damage. The first kill comes on to Shiraniko. Uno tossing out that Nitro cell. And just like that, G2 with yet another lead. This does look like a very defender-sided cafe. That means G2 will ride out the better side. They need to run up the tally here, though.
Poor Kiba's, man. Kiba to help out the reinforce, too. I like that play. Was exposed for a moment there, but still, just a little bit more protection to get that reinforced off. You got to appreciate that. These two roamers still, it's the duo of Loira and Alamau, and certainly they've been doing great work in this position. The one difference, missing the shots in a Black Ray. The one difference is the site is no longer reading. It's mining and dining, so they don't need to full take top floor, but they are attempting to, and Alamau, he's out there getting his kills.
And he finds yet another great round. Hanetson claims the kill from the grave with a Claymore, picking off Ali Mao. So the numbers still favor G2. They've lost their leader, their star player. Right now, CAG are still clearing out that top floor. And where do they go next? Well, they've actually found themselves not in the bomb site, but very close. Doki doesn't seem to realize that he's basically back-to-back with Chibisu. He finds the Hibana, runs up, and there's more than enough bullets there to take the Capitao down. Chibisu the only kill in G2. Moves to map point. We are positioned for both of these teams to steal each other's maps away for them. That would leave us. Consulate, as you pointed out, is the tiebreaker.
Now the momentum firmly in the hands of G2. They've been winning a couple of these rounds. You see it in their faces. You see it in the energy. Okay, maybe a little more calm right at this exact moment. But when they won, obviously the energy was there. I'm not hearing Shuriep yelling across the stage anymore. Certainly more quiet, as they have not been winning as many of these rounds. But one round's all it takes. That forces overtime, and then CAG still in a very strong position to close this out 2-0. Consulate awaits us if that doesn't happen. G2 7-5 will be feeling very good as a bounce back with momentum on one of their best maps. G2 would be looking pretty good for that map 3, but of course, we're not there yet. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. This map is not yet over. The duo of Loira and Alamau. Mostly Alamau, but Loira's been helping, especially with the util, right? Even if Alamau's getting all the kills, Loira is distracting attention. He's providing cover. He's letting Alamau know, hey, this part of the map is safe because I'm watching it. Being able to play off of each other is a big deal. So I do want to credit both of them in this aggressive top floor position when the bomb site's been on that mid floor. They've been the star of the show. They've absolutely owned these last 2 rounds. They've let G2 win both of the mid-floor sites. Now, with one more round in regulation, they can no longer go to the mid-floor. They don't want to go basement, so it's going to be the top floor they have to defend. This is still going to be a comfortable position for these 2 players, and now they'll have 3 teammates on the top floor to help them out as well.
Claymore from Anatun got a kill in the previous round, and it's not really a secondary gadget that we tend to see all that often, but on a map like this, when you see both teams going for these leap outs, these heroics, it becomes so important, and G2 might have just won the round off of that 2-piece that we saw. Doki with the second kill, and just like that, G2's lead goes up, but they answer back. Loira dies. A 5v3 becomes a 4v3. 2 minutes still to go. And the big struggle here from CAG has been finding their footing on offense. This is what has happened at international events before with CAG Osaka, is that they can be tremendous on defense, but the coordination that is required on attack is usually a little bit stronger, and that is almost always the problem for CAG.
Impact from Doki coming out maybe just when it's needed most. He's had a quiet game so far, but if he can start things off strong for G2, on the most critical round here, nobody's going to remember the struggles he had on Bank. And it's an upside-down rappel here. On the hallway window, fully reinforced and kited off. I believe Doki was putting those electric claws in from below. So if they go into reading, they might be able to clear out that claw, but they're not really in position to find that. They are inside of Piano looking for these frags instead. That wall closed and looming. Pixel not being held. Here's a Lion charge as well. It's the first of the round. I mean, they're not really giving them anything. G2, they're sitting in their site. They know they have a man advantage. It is on CAG to find an opening here and start the round off strong, but nothing's being given. They've got no opportunities.
I mean, when you've got 1 minute to go, you don't need to do anything as the defenders. You just sit and wait. G2 on the precipice of winning this map. 40 seconds could separate G2 from a victory in map 3 and overtime. Doki flashed out, now holding in back bar. Playing a little game of do-si-do around the doors. Waiting for one to drop through Skylight. He sees the read, misses most of his shots. Blaz on the board this round. Alimau with one as well. It's all up to Black Ray. The hopes of CAG on their own map in his hands, and it's Alimau to say your map is ours. CAG Osaka stuns us in map 1 by taking G2's map of Bank, and G2 does the same to them on Cafe.
Textbook round from G2 to close things out. Aggression in the early round, get that man advantage, and then sit and chill and be patient. That's the discipline that they're going to need here on map 3 if they want to continue on and not get knocked out in the very first round. Things are looking up finally for the G2 squad. Things are going a lot better for them, but it's not over, Parker. Again, Consulate coming up next will be a map that both teams are very good at, but with momentum firmly in their hands now. G2 walking out with smiles on their faces.
Alimau finishing that map with 19 kills, almost matching Shureep's total of 21 back on Bank. Shureep himself finished with 11, which means in total, 32 kills. A bit of a far cry from that best of 3 record, but still definitely doable. And now with a third map, it's possible, but maybe not as likely as we had thought. If Shureep had a better game, maybe you're in contention there. But honestly, G2 winning that map, it was still a squeaker. They steal CAG's map, but they looked far more confident on that second half. And maybe this is a team that's just they're late to bed, late to rise, and they're finally starting to wake up the longer that this matchup goes on. One more map to determine whether it's CAG Osaka or G2 prevail. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Ouais, choc-les, choc-les. Ouais, choc-les, choc-les, choc-les. Ouais, voilà ce qu'ils me disent. Les entends parler et ils m'étrisent. J'arrête que pour rafler la mise. Petit pas sur la piste. Et le succès, je l'ai pisté. Disent que la moi tu mises gros, tu connais déjà l'équipe. Ça criera au complot, je prends le double, on est quitté, je fais la magie des chiffres. La somme je la triple, la concurrence la dribble. Et le stade est en délire, ça fait choquer. J'arrive pour tous les choquer, toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché, accroché. Gauche, droite, esquive rageux. Coach m'a rajouté du temps de jeu. Dans l'action, ouais je me sens en feu. Je suis on fire, fire. Je fais la différence au compteur. Money time, ça shoot sur le buzzer. Je suis on fire, fire. Choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché, accroché. Choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es Tap, tap, yeah, I want that. No lines, I don't cut back. Sweet, salty, and all that. Let loose, come get that. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel that? Ooh, you feel that? Ooh, the real back. Ooh, I'm still that. Ooh, you catch that? Ooh, I guess that. The best back. Yeah, yeah. 30,000 up, I'm a pilot. Might jump out if I'm wildin'. Catch my flow, I'm so stylish. Tap, tap, real smooth. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go.
Well, we didn't know if it would come to a map 3 or not, but we are here ready for the third map. You don't look very happy. What do you... Much happier now.
I got chewed out by Fox today because he said every time I come on a broadcast, I got a goofy smile on my face. I don't know what it meant by that. I think it's a compliment, though.
I think it's a compliment as well. If you didn't tune in to our second map, here's what you were looking at with the map summary. A tremendous performance from Alimau, the best player on the team and the best player in this particular map. All the way back in map number 1, it was Shoe Reap and the Shoe Reap show, but this time around, it was Alimau to carry the way. And as you can see in the middle of your screen, G2 absolutely dominated the second half, just as CAG Osaka did all the way in the second half of map number 1. And that now sets us up for Consulate as the decider.
Certainly, I think 7-5 is a scoreline. I mean, it was a close game. I just think at the end, it got away from CAG, right? It was a 4-2 half favoring CAG to start. Then G2, they won their 2 primary sites. They lost their tertiary. They won their next 2 primary sites. And I think CAG could have won the tertiary a second time. But with the momentum, with the pressure, with it being round 12, I think G2 just closed it out. And that's been a problem for CAG. At previous events, they've been a team who have, I think, had potential to go far, but have always struggled when it comes to that mental game, never really leading up to that. I think some of that's their playstyle as well. It's a playstyle that can sometimes rely on things going well for your team, as they like to play somewhat risky strategies at time. But regardless, I think this is their opportunity to, you know, rewrite the script a little bit. This is their chance to say, you know what, maybe we've had some bad tournaments, but let's show the world we can do.
Yeah, I mean, G2 definitely needs to improve from what we saw of them all the way back in Manchester. And I mean, if you look at the history of G2 and you look at the history of CAG, this probably more often than not should have been 8-2-0 for G2, especially with the way they performed on CAG's map. But those early struggles on bank for G2, some puzzling decisions on their attacks, and CAG having one player in particular absolutely dominating the competition, all of it leads to this third map as the decider. And I honestly don't know where we're going to go from here. You seem to think that this is a very favorable map for G2.
I do. Absolutely. G2 are great at Consulate. They have a 7-2 record on this map this season since the 6th Invitational. They were, in my mind, like the OG Consulate team. Like when you thought back when Consulate first came out, when you were like, okay, who's good at this map? Who do I look at to learn what Consulate is all about? You looked at G2. Now, they did fall to Virtus Pro on this map this stage, but regardless, they're still one of the best Consulate teams in the world. The thing is, though, the reason why G2 didn't pick it earlier in this map ban phase is that it's also a great map for Cyclops. G2, a 7-2 record. Cyclops, 5 wins, 1 loss this season, including 2 wins back in Manchester during phase 1 of that event. Now, they beat Team Cruelty and GK Esports. Maybe not quite teams at the level of G2, but in Manchester, they kind of were. So, really, this is a testament to see 2 teams at the peak of their playstyle at the maps that they're very, very good at. Both of these squads, great Consulate teams, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this map because it's a map that I think, while it is, it's been around in the pool for a while. You know, Nighthaven and Lair, of course, are just as new, if not newer maps. Consulate still has a lot of interesting ideas being brought out. We still see new stuff on this map all the time. I think I was just talking with Lynx about this actually before the series began. The top floor on Consulate can be really interesting as a bomb site in Siege. There's a lot of cool stuff on Console top 4 you don't see anywhere else. Really common to Maru strats, really common to Chonka strats, stuff that you just don't see on any other map. So I'm looking forward to this, one of my favorite maps to watch. And with two titans of the map going at it, we're in for a good show for sure.
Yeah, I very much expect fireworks, as we have seen on these first two maps. There's nothing that leads me to think it would be any different here on Consulate. The operator bans will be something that I will be watching quite keenly, as I'm sure you will as well. CAG Osaka changed things up on that second map, banning out a Ying and banning out a Castle, which was something that we kind of raised our eyebrows at. There's a bit of a difference with the Monty and Kaid bans that we had seen on Bank from this team. Monty, of course, has been banned out by G2, so I suspect that one of these two teams will remove Monty for Consulate, because every map right now is a good Monty map.
100%, and I would expect it to be G2. Not only are they liking the Monty ban, liking the shield bans so far through the series, but they've also historically banned Monty a decent amount on Consulate, so I'd expect them to open with that as we get into this. I should mention as well, G2 are starting on the defense here. Consulate, one of the most defender-sided maps. It's usually Consulate and Skyscraper that people talk about as the two maps where defenders really dominate. I think Skyscraper's been leaning a little bit more as the most defender-sided map, but Consulate is right there with it. So early advantage for G2. I'm expecting the Monty ban first, and then there's the question again from CAG. Do they go for another shield ban? Do they do the blitz? Do they follow that up? Or do they go back to the Ying? Cyclops have been banning Ying on most maps all stage long. They hate that operator. They really like taking it out, despite the fact that they did use it once in our first map on Bank, and I thought they used it pretty well, and it's not a map that G2 have been exceptionally drawn towards. So I mean, we'll see how things go when we get into it, but really there's a lot of options when we start off this game, and I'm just looking forward to it.
Me as well. It looks like we got everybody in the lobby. We had a bit of a delay between these maps for some unforeseen circumstances, so we appreciate your patience. But Consulate is up and ready. Which of these teams moves closer to a spot in our second phase? Which of these teams moves closer to going home? CAG started off with a victory on map 1. They didn't have the same success on map 2, which G2 took. What happens here in map number 3? Let's get underway with it in the operator bans.
I'd be shocked if this wasn't a shield. G2 perma banning shield so far in this game, up against one of the greatest shield teams of all time. It's a blitz, not a Monty. Thought maybe it would be, but that kind of leaves the door open from Cyclops now. I would expect a Ying. If I had to pick, I'd expect a Ying. It's been consistent for them on this map. It's been an operator they banned an hour ago on the last map, but it could still be something else. No, it'll be the Ying instead. Now is the real question as well. Do they go for the Azami ban? I think it was a bit of a mistake not banning the Azami last time. We saw how effective it was for G2. It's an operator they ban a lot on this map as well. Very good on Consulate, very good everywhere, but Consulate especially. There it is. 3 for 3 if you'll allow me to say that the Blitz ban prediction was correct. I'd expect a Fenrir to end this out for G2. It's been their most common ban on Consulate. Ooh, never mind.
A clash. So Monty will stay available. My presumption was completely wrong.
Yeah.
I made one prediction on operators this entire time so far, and I was incorrect on it. But, you know, that's how it goes from time to time. A clash ban, not something you see every day.
No, but Clash is very good on the top floor of this map. What you'll see a lot of the time is obviously to plant on the top floor of Consulate, you want to get in the CEO window and plant. Super strong plant spot, right? There's a bulletproof bookshelf right there. It's a great plant spot, of course. Clash can use her shields to get past the angle. Really good window rappel spot to cover that plant. Clash can just walk past, go to the corner, go to the side, and then, you know, flip around and deny the plant or just shock the planter enough so they get off. A lot of cool stuff you can do with Clash on this site, as we do start on the top floor here for G2, but not in this game. They will have to bring out other tools to deny a plant. G2 opting for the Goyo, they're opting for the Smoke, they're opting for 2 C4s and 2 impacts on Loira, Doki, and Alamau respectively. Alamau on the Scopos is kind of exciting for me because this is an operator that we see a lot on bigger maps where you want to roam across multiple floors. And obviously an operator that can get from 2 spots on the map, from one side of the map to the other side of the map, extremely quickly. He's going to set up one of his bodies way down inside of electrical, and with the other one, he's spawn peeking.
The big gamble on an operator that, well, I guess the secondary robot just stays on as a Deployable shield with a camera.
Not that useful in the basement.
No, not very. They assess something is the matter by the fact that the wall is opened up, because why would it be open if somebody wasn't playing there?
Yep.
They're wise to your tricks, Alimao. They chase him off of that position, but not before he's able to waste some time. So even though he doesn't find any success in terms of kills, he'd managed to kill some of the clock. Force drones to go up in that position, force you to waste some of your energy and precious time. And that can be quite valuable when you look at the fact that there's only 2 minutes left.
Yeah, and I mean, if they're going for an admin side clear, which based on their positioning, it looks like they likely will, that could open the door for Alimao later in the round to go for that big flank. His second body, again, is down in electrical in the basement. If somebody's on, like, the rappel up by Printer, he could maybe make a punch hole or even impact. He's got those as a secondary to get an aggressive pick onto the player on the window, or just flank late up the Visa stairs with, like, 30 seconds remaining and have a huge impact to take those players out. It'll be Blaz at the front door instead, though, to start things off aggressively. Goes 1-for-1, takes down the Capitao, a huge pick.
Blaz's impact so far in this series has not been what G2 has been hoping for. It's had very little impact on the overall results of the rounds. Taking down Anaton, the Capitao, a very high-value utility operator, though, is quite impactful.
Yep.
So that will obviously aid G2 when the execute comes in from CAG. They'll lose the dislodging ability from those 2 fire arrows and then also the smokes, too. It's Loira now, working his way around that long desk. The bees will come out from Chibisu. Can't dislodge them with the fire arrows, but you still have that option with the Grim. 45 seconds, Loira is shaken off of his spot by long desk, and it's a swing in, a goofy swing in from Shuri. We don't see that every day. As Alimao now switches over to the robot in the basement and will now go for a flank.
There's a drone in Visa office, though. If Anaton's watching it, it should be able to find that. Doki finds Shurip instead. Not sure if they're going to be able to fight that flank coming in, but the plant starts regardless as Black Ray starts to get it on the ground.
Toxic gas goes out. Doesn't find any success. Exasperation from you, Jesse. I saw that. Loira dies to Shiraniko, as now Doki will need to inch his way out of this bomb site. Or maybe just even long arm it. Nice shot onto Chibisu, but the refrag is there from Black Ray to keep this close, denying G2, one of their players, an option to go for the counter disable. Alimao and Uno now. The last 2 remaining, Uno hopping on it. Alimao in a very good spot to shut this down. Nade goes out, and Uno should be able to pull this off! Alimao saves the day at the final second.
Let's go, guys.
Let's go!
Heroic effort from the Brazilian. G2 wins the round.
Milliseconds away from losing that one. So close, but they do manage to stop the denial. Obviously, this is going to be a big one from G2 as they get up and they're able to disable that bomb, get the last couple of kills. Really good stuff.
But it's fine, right? Doesn't matter.
Coming out of the Europeans. A big start, obviously a little scary as the plant did go down, and typically that is a bit of a death sentence on that site, given where they planted. I was worried about Alimao. I was about to call him a baiter because when he went down to the basement and then the push came in, he didn't have a huge impact. But in the post plant was obviously instrumental in winning that round, so I won't say that. I think he had a very good impact on that one, and he goes from one unorthodox operator to another as he picks up the FO12 on Ella instead for this round. A very rare op, and not one I really see on even this site ever, so I'm excited to see what he's doing with it. Of course, has those Grismos to try to play around with. Capcans as well, potentially to try to get a free pick on one of these players that might be running around. And one of them could be Anaton, who has picked up his classic Montaigne. And here's a spawn peek from Alimao with the pistol. Long range, the only real long range option that Ella has, but doesn't find anything with it, unfortunately. Just goes back inside.
What do you mean? The Scorpion is so easy to control.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously not using it, but I mean, it's so easy to control. What are you talking about?
I don't know about that one. Maybe 6 years ago.
I think you're nuts.
Okay.
Could this be a run out? There is Doki taking matters into his own hands. Black Ray wasn't expecting one of these players from G2 to be so ferocious. But a small enough hole for a man as small as Doki to fit through, and G2 finds the very first pick of the round.
Interesting to see Anaton rocking that Montaigne again. Typically it's been Shuri. Anaton's only played Monty twice all stage out of 83 attacking rounds that he's played in the Japan League. But maybe just with how Shuri has been shooting today, they don't want to take him off of the gun, and I think that's very fair. Anaton's still one of the greatest Monties to ever play Siege. Alamo, good Monty too, to be fair. Both the Shield players on their squads. With that Shield, you're expecting to see either a full top floor clear, maybe coming in through yellow, or just a plant attempt. This is one of those sites that you can often sneak a plant down below without taking full top control. In theory, every plant spot can be denied from above. However, with smokes and with distractions up top, in practice, that's often far more difficult to achieve. So, based on the round so far, the first 90 seconds, it seems like that may be the game plan for CAG. Getting a lot of this utility hacked away down on that main floor. They will pressure the top floor when they go for this execute, but they may not clear it out entirely, opting instead to go for a bit of a plant-focused strat. But actually, we'll see. They're in the top floor now.
You hear that Banshee go off as the Monty gets ever closer to the bomb site. It's Anaton leading the way. A nice nitro cell from Uno down below will claim Anaton and Shuri. Chibisu and Sherniko immediately trading those numbers back. G2 still with the advantage. One more dies, it's Sherniko. Loira, the killer in that instance, and it's Chibisu in a 1v. The die to Blaz.
You're the best, bro. Nice.
This is the G2 that we expected for a lot of these first two maps, yet did not show up. Well, they're here now on Consulate, making their presence known.
Might have to call him Dose after that big 2K C4 that secured the round there.
Instead of Uno.
Yeah.
Call him Dose.
Yeah.
What do you think Pengu's doing right now?
I assume he's co-streaming. I believe he's...
What do you think Pengu's doing right now?
I believe he's live. Shout out.
Nick, come back to me.
You'd have to swim across the Atlantic. I don't know if he can, if he's got the arms for that.
Is he still bald? He'd be more,
he would be
less
more...
resistance.
Yeah, that's right.
Less resistance. Doesn't need to wear a swimming cap. Bald, nature swimming cap.
I like that. I like that a lot. We got two bald people in our green room earlier today, and so we were having a lot of bald conversations before this game started.
Don't leak one of them because it's a surprise.
Is it?
I don't think it's been unveiled yet.
Watch the B stream if you are a bald person aficionado. If you enjoy watching bald people, that's all I'll say. Maybe Pegu's back for the B stream.
I'm reasonably certain he is co-streaming right now.
I think he is too.
So, it'd be quite impressive if he was at his house in Copenhagen and also here.
Maybe they've faked an entire backdrop. They're just lying the whole time, and it's going to be a great reveal.
Are you saying that Pengu's a faker? Because that's the only time those two will ever be compared to each other.
Oof. There's a post on Twitter. They're being compared quite a lot, actually. Quite a lot, I would say. In for this roam clear, Loira yet to really be spotted out. They haven't actually entered the top floor. It's only Chibisu, and he's just in the main floor. Here's the Monty now, hunting for this Vigil. I don't know what Loira's going to do. Fully spotted out, of course. The Logic Bomb pops out, and he's got to head for the hills. Chibisu ready for the cutoff. This is being freebie.
Oh.
Okay. A little scary, but he doesn't manage to hit the shot, so Chibisu will get that. And again, that intel coming through for CAG. They'll get that Dokkaebi hack off, just like they did on Cafe.
The Monty doesn't get the kill. In fact, Anaton's not even credited with an assist there, but these are the type of stats that are kept off of the scoreboard that we have to reference, because if it wasn't for Anaton moving the map control away from G2, pushing Loira into the waiting arms of Chibisu, that kill doesn't happen. Chibisu gets the kill solely because the Monty is there, and Chibisu is ready and waiting for it. And now it'll be another opportunity for CAG to do the same thing, this time closer to the bomb site. As Anaton makes his way from yellow into the B bomb site, he's got the diffuser. And if he plays this well, he'll have the pillar behind him too. The only thing he really needs to worry about is explosives and maybe a play from over towards the mirror window. He drops the shield to try to bait them out. Boogie's going off above, and, well, Anaton is slayed immediately. From where is the question? CAG had everything going for them. Uno and Doki with 2 kills, and just like that, the diffuser has been surrendered by CAG, and G2 has a numbers advantage.
60 seconds to try to recover this one. They're finding the Valk cams a little bit too late. There's a great shot opportunity from Blaz with a long-range DMR. Can't quite hit it on the Shoe Reap. This is a really difficult one to recover. The C4 has been big for G2 so far, and there's still one in the pocket of Uno, who has yet to lose a gunfight today. 3-0. 2 of those coming from a Nitro Cell, to be fair. From our good friend Dose. Here's the plant attempt again from Shoe Reap with 30 seconds and 1 more Nitro. Can they stop it?
They're looking for it. Blaz playing around that mirror window. Diffuser goes down successfully. Numbers equalize as Shiraniko and Black right now get a kill, with Blaz getting 1-2, and we're back to a 2v2. Blaz and Doki near enough to the Diffuser, and just as it's safe to plant, it's safe to start the counter disable. Blaz on it, but there's the upstairs coverage. Black Ray using the E1D, and then both of the kills that come at the end are his. Black Ray had a bad first map, a better second map, and he's warming up for the third. It's the first time in that round that CAG was successful on attack. You saw their struggles on attack back on Cafe. If they can get at least 3 rounds here on attack on Consulate, they'll be well situated for the second half on defense.
I think the biggest thing for me on that push from Cyclops was the speed of it. I mean, they started that first Monty plant attempt with like 60 seconds pretty much on the clock. 2 Nitro Cells came out. Alamao's came out to down, and I think it was Doki's that came out for the final kill. Somebody came out to secure it with the second Nitro Cell to take down the Montaigne. And whilst there was a final Nitro Cell, G2 brought 4 in that round. It didn't quite land. Uno, I believe, got shut down as he was going to toss it out. So really good cover from CAG. Of course, you saw that top-down play being so effective in the late round there in the post-plant. You saw how good that was. Obviously, Black Ray has had his struggles. He was the lowest performer for CAG in the regular season. He often is a bit more of a quiet player on that team, but when he needs to, in those important situations, he absolutely can step up. And showing that here, of course, today to get their first round on the board here on map number 3. A needed one, of course, in the first quarter now.
Well, just about as close of a matchup as we anticipated. I do like that he's been going back and forth. I was talking in between the maps, Jesse, about what we look for in the games themselves, and I was asked if I was excited for CAG versus G2, and I said, yeah, of course, because one of 2 things is going to happen. Either one, G2 is going to demolish CAG, and the story will be that G2 is effectively back, and there always is some magic with this organization and events in Montreal. Or CAG beats them, and it's a great story for CAG, but it also starts to tell the story about G2's struggles and how they've been so pronounced over the last 2 events. The third option is the one that has actually come to fruition, which is that it's just a very close matchup so far. And in this round with 1 minute, this has been a very brisk entry from CAG. They've got G2 on their back foot. Shurip with the first kill. He's traded out by Ali Mao. So again, a 4v4. Both of these teams have been so close with kills through all 4 rounds of action. It looked like CAG would have no problem getting into the bomb site. But they've been rebuffed by G2. And there's Loira to get Shiraniko from down below, and Chibisu dies to Uno, but Loira was definitely in on the fun as well. Anaton putting the shield away for a second with the pistol out. And this has been a long and drawn-out affair between these teams, but G2 emerges with an advantage of 1 player.
Chaos afoot to start this one. It doesn't stop, now leaving Anaton in a 1v3. He'll need the ace on Monty. And he won't get it. Blaz from the back of the head will take him out of it. A chaotic early round. They had the Dokkaebi call coming out. Despite that, we saw Alamo chasing people with the pistol up on the top floor. They didn't seem to realize the shield was as aggressive as it was. That allowed Anaton to get 2 big kills, but eventually, through the chaos, the defense do pull it through. That's G2 playing all 4 bomb sites now through the first 4 rounds. Winning 3 and losing 1. That's a pretty good record on Consulate. Not incredibly unexpected with how defender side of this map is, but still a strong stat line. If they can push that to like 5 and 1, they're going to be in a really good spot. I feel like the Monty has not been all that it needs to be so far from CAG. I mean, we talk about Anson again as one of the greatest Monty players of all time. He was the OG guy, right? He was playing Monty before it was cool. The one player that everybody would perma-ban Monty against. And I don't know, he's played it twice this game, got C4'd in 1 round, got C4'd in the next round. He played 3 times then. And then in that round, a lot of his teammates dying, I mean, leaving himself in a 1v3, generally not the game plan for Monty, but that whole push was so all over the place that it's hard to maybe really blame him as an individual. Just needs to see the team, I think, playing around that Monty a bit more. For their second last attack, they're not going to bring it out. They're going to put Anaton on the Capitao instead. I think that's fair enough. But for this Montaigne, if they can get a little bit more value out of the most powerful attacker in Rainbow Six Siege, they certainly are going to be in a better position to win more of these rounds. But for now, they just haven't found it.
Now this is excellent for G2. Could reference map stats from the previous regions to go off of what we think will happen, but in international events, it's always a ball game. Just like how you reference it, you know, G2 has never won Cafe because they played it a single time against Virtus Pro.
The thing is, though, I'm not lying to the viewers, okay? I'm being honest.
Statistically, you are correct.
Yeah.
But in terms of narratives,
Yeah.
maybe not entirely.
The numbers don't lie, Parker. That's the one thing. I lie with the numbers, but the numbers themselves are always true, okay?
What did they say? There's liars, damn liars, and statistics?
Absolutely. I will also say G2 prior to today had never dropped a map to CAG Osaka. They'd played 3 maps prior to this, I believe twice in 2019 in Raleigh, once in Paris in 2021. They've still yet to lose a series, so this would put them up 3-0 series-wise against Cyclops, 2 legacy organizations that you see at many international events. They've only met twice. This was their 3rd. Obviously, this is a good start from G2, but we expect for the defender side of map that G2 would take the lead. I would say if it's a 5-1, we're in real trouble if we're big CAG fans. If it's a 3-3, we're feeling really good. If it's a 4-2, you know, it's a ball game.
Surprised you haven't grasped CAG as a verb like you did with Flux. We're fluxing now, Fluxo, let's go. When people say we're really cagging it up at the moment,
Yeah.
surprised you haven't seized on that yet. Go out the Bees now, as an Adrenal Surge will give some more stability to CAG as they unload all their utility. Flames as well going over to isolate these defenders, but it does not matter for Doki, who just as the Flames die out in his area, gets 2 kills. Black Ray trades it back. Now he asserts himself over towards Long Desk, getting closer to the bomb site. There'll be a lot of guns trained at these narrow doorways that CAG will have no choice but to go through. Ali Mao clobbering Anata to trade back. Black Ray so far good for 2 on this execute. Time running out though for CAG. They get rid of Uno. 1 more body in the ground. And a swing now over from Chibisu, doing damage but not enough to get a DBNO. A re-peek. Blast taking even more damage. Lawyer will now contend against Black Ray as the swing comes in. Black Ray pulls off the diffuser. Lawyer last one standing for G2. It's him versus Chibisu in a 1v1 with the diffuser down. Loira moonwalking his way. A huge round for Loira, huge round for G2.
Loira, you're so good, man.
First half, 4-1 so far for G2. 1 more round to go.
15 seconds.
Holy shit. I destroyed these guys' long desk.
Good job, guys. Holy shit, good fucking job.
He really did. Doki destroyed them at the top of the spiral stairs. An amazing 2K entry started that round, and then Loira absolutely came in to finish it in the final 1v1 against Chibisu, who was in a great position on his best operator of Grim to try to close that one down, but it just wasn't enough. Loira, in the words of Alamau, so good. I won't quote him exactly, but an incredible play there from Loira at the end. I mean, for me, Doki was the main star of that one. Everybody performed. Doki, a generational entry player, always getting into those early gunfights. He does it on attack. He does it on defense as well. Historically taken about 1/4 of all of G2's opening fights on both sides. Coming out massive there with a 2K lead, gave that advantage up to them. I really thought Chibisu could pull that one back. He certainly had the positioning to do so. G2, again, oftentimes in these late rounds, they will give up a lot of space. This is something we noticed on Bank. I'm noticing it again in this map as well. They're okay conceding some of the bomb site, letting some of those plants go down. If it allows them to take slightly better gunfights, they're happy with that. Even if it maybe means playing in a bit of a post-plant situation, they're okay with that quite often. But no, really succeeding there in the late round, of course, and in the early, shutting down CAG on all fronts. That puts them up to 4-1. And a scary situation. If Anderson cannot finally make this Monty work, then you gotta start questioning if they can do it on defense.
Here's a very interesting statistic across these 3 maps, Jesse.
Boy. Yes.
Back in Bank, the team that got the opening pick only won 4 of the 10 rounds. Wow. On Cafe, they won 11 of the 12 rounds. Here on Consulate, it's shaping up to be very similar to what we saw on Cafe. Of the 5 rounds played, the team that got the opening pick has won 4 of those 5 rounds. So incredibly important that you get the first pick and then use it to your advantage. I mean, we watched that bank matchup. First pick really didn't tell the whole story. The map was attacked very differently by G2 than it was by CAG. Things were a bit more orthodox on Cafe. And now here, G2 has been composed. They've been really structured. Uno on the run is that composure and structure will get him down to the basement and away from the prying eyes of Shurip, who's having, statistically, an awful game. 1-6 in the first half for the player who dropped 21 kills in map number 1.
Trying to make that Deimos work. It does get answered. Shiraneko finds Loira, so that's front door player down. Got a decent amount of map control, but again, the trades, they're good for G2 just as they are for CAG. Really nice stuff from Blaz. Those opening picks, as you mentioned, they can be so important, especially for a team like CAG. CAG converted a higher percentage of rounds in Stage 2 than any other team in the world, winning 83% of the rounds where they got the opening pick. They didn't get it in this one. G2 got it. They have a 75% win rate with their entry in Europe. Now, as far as guns are concerned, it's only a 2v4. Anderson's still on this shield. Top floor being controlled by Black Rays. Got that secondary bailiff to try to work on these floorboards. Not the best, but it'll get the job done, and that'll do even more. A later trade, but Anderson also falls immediately after G2. They are not giving up the man advantage.
Chibisu had 2 opportunities for picks, but he missed his both of the peaks. He redeems himself on Dodoki.
No.
No, he did. He redeemed himself.
No, Alamau, no, look.
Oh. Carl with 1 kill on to Black Ray. And now it's all up to Chibisu. Chibisu had a great second map. He's carried it on forward now here. Map 3. There goes some of the ceiling. Chibisu with plenty of time left. Will have diffuser in hand. Do they have the correct mark on him? It looked like for a second there, Alamo actually had information. He goes for the drop, and there's Uno to get the final pick. What a brisk first half for the European team. G2 comes out swinging, and they are in a beautiful position to eliminate CAG's chances of making it into the upper bracket of play-ins. Bit of a clunky way of saying that, but still means the same thing. G2 up 5-1.
I think you're seeing a great example here of why G2 are considered to be one of the best Consulate teams on the entire planet. I mean, just so disciplined on getting those trades consistently. Alamau knows exactly when to go for those flanks and when it's maybe not the best idea. Of course, found the Grim up there on the top floor instead of CEO, a massively important pick. I was surprised they got the plant down. Again, it's harder to deny that plant from above than you might expect because there's so many plant spots, but in the end, it didn't really matter. Great shot from Uno. I will say the Aruni shots being hit today have been fantastic from G2. Alamau on Cafe doing great work with that operator. Now Uno bringing it in here on Consulate. G2, unless they have just a horrendous attacking half, this looks very good for them. G2 historically on Consulate this stage, they've played 13 rounds on attack. They have a 46% win rate, which is, it is negative, but on Consulate, 46% is well above the average for most teams on attack. So you expect them to be able to find 2 at some point in the next 6. But again, it's going to come down to that momentum. CAG, how can they do with the mental? Can they start to move this back in their favor? Can they win this top floor and start to turn it around? Or are we going to be ending up with a pretty disappointing finish? I think the focus on Shurip that you started to bring up last round is really it's a good representative of how this game has gone. Map 1, Shurip dominating the server, absolutely owning G2. They lose the map. Then map 2 comes through. Shurip playing well, goes around even, puts up good numbers, but they just lose it in a close fashion. Now Shurip absent from the server. He's got 1 kill and they've won 1 round. It's not as big of a coincidence as it sounds. That is certainly a contributing factor to these rounds.
Certainly.
I would say so.
Another Monty. You were very critical of CAG back on their attacks with the Monty, saying that you didn't feel that the value was getting brought by the French shield operator. What can Alimau cook up? He's been excellent with the gunplay so far. Nitro Cell tossed out by Shiraneko. Lawyer Demon with the kill, and Anaton trades it right back, but still, he managed to push somebody off of this bomb site. Alimau has good map control, and he's followed up with Doki right behind him.
big pick. Doki falls right there. That could be the momentum shift they need, but the Montaigne is still in their sight. Blaz has the ability to repel in at any moment. Nobody's really in a position to stop Blaz. Of course, they do have those toxic babes. There's probably Goyo canisters around as well if they've not already been popped, but there's nobody to jump out a window or do anything aggressive. They certainly don't have map control of CEO itself, so this is going to be a really hard plant to stop. We've got one guy just in the room. Can they kill Anatson? If they do, this is going to be a very tough round to lose if you're G2.
Anatson might actually be cut out of his position. Oh my, there goes the diffuser. G2 in serious trouble. Alimao needs to decide what he wants to do next. Down goes Uno, and Alimao runs on in, and Hannington gets one of the easiest double kills he's received in a long time. He's actually rocking the G2 charm as well.
Honestly, I mean, they're easy shots to hit if you're Anatson, but they're only coming off of good positioning and good game sense. They had no idea he was inside of CEO. They had no clue he was so close in the window. Thought it was a free repellent to go for that plant.
He can go below, I can go see a window, and I can go for...
I think G2, they were real. They should have recognized that there was a lot of space to be given up for free. Kind of should have realized, you know what, CEO is not really being contested. There's nobody here. And they kind of just thought to themselves, that's okay, we got a Monty. Let's just repel in and plant. But Anatson was right there by the window, and that positioning absolutely won it for him. 3 kills right at the end of that. Anatson, the oldest player on CAG, turns 24 a week from today, really putting in the work, the veteran of the team. Sometimes it's not all about the aim, Parker. That game sense and positioning can be critical to win you rounds. And Anatson showing that in that last one.
G2 need to ensure they don't lose the momentum at this point. They've been in much better spirits this time around and actually engaging in and winning their gunplay. They look like a shadow themselves back in map number 1. Just tracking, by the way, that conversion. It's still holding pretty well through the 7 rounds. First blood guaranteed you a win in 5 of those 7 rounds. So again, who will strike first? That stat is a little deceiving solely because a lot of these first picks have been trades.
Yeah.
So technically, Loira might get the first pick, but if Anatson trades it right back, it's a 1-for-1. Exactly. There's nothing really gained from getting the first pick there. You could then start to argue, well, who lost more by losing what player, and if a smoke dies early, then obviously it's bad. That's not what we're tracking right now. We are just simply saying if you get the first kill, how likely is it that you win the round? Right now on Consulate is still very good.
Alimao losing this first Twitch drone quite early, gets nothing from it. Of course, those Twitch drones, important for the Kaid clause, but also, I mean, the mirror windows are there. You've got Maestro Evil Eyes that are around too, so you really want to get value to this, and they didn't even get the single wall open down in the basement for electrical. So here comes the second Twitch drone. They'll get a default cam. I don't almost just lose a player because of it. With Shirin Echo up at the top of Spiral Stairs here in the middle. Could have found a pick, but he just missed his shots. Will they be able to get anything else done with these Twitch drones? Will they be able to find these more aggressive players? Shirip's kind of aggro as well. Here at the top of yellow, and he does get punished. There's Doki, equalizing his kill count and finding a really good pick on the Deimos, an operator that he has been struggling with today, very oddly.
So harassing Chibisu behind this mirror window. The Nitro Cell primed and ready with just a little bit over a minute still left in the round. This mirror's at a very loud drone. It's much louder than usual.
This is a lot of map control from G2. They've got players back inside a server. They've got players in the main breach. They've got players up above. It means they might find themselves in somewhat isolated 1v1s, but if they win those 1v1s, they've got so many angles coming in that it's going to be really hard to hold this site.
Chibisu has been harassed multiple times. They know exactly where he is. Guess what? Doesn't mean a damn thing. CAG with a lot of kills. G2 just up to G1, and it's Blaz at this point. He finds 2 kills for him, a triple. It's him and Black Ray in a 1v1. Black Ray will look for the swing. What just happened? Blaz has been quiet all series, but he spoke loudly in that round. And what could have been the beginning of a comeback for CAG is now G2 sitting on series point.
G4K in that round from Blaz. What a performance coming out from him. Puts himself at 9-5. I really thought that that was going to be a push that just fumbled. I mean, they had all those angles coming out, and I said, you know what? That's good to have a multiple dimension push. Something G2 were quite famous for. But instead, CAG were hitting all their shots, the isolated players. There was no trades. Really hard to trade sometimes when you're coming in from so many different directions. But the one player coming in and trading at the very end was the only one that mattered.
They chasing every map.
So let's read the breakfast and let's take it.
Let's fucking go, guys. So good, guys. So good. Let's go, guys. Blast, you're the goal.
They know there's not much more to do on the side of G2. Cyclops need to win 4 in a row or else face the lower bracket. G2 will have their own tactical timeout before they get to 6-6, I'm sure. If it starts heading more in that direction, it's really Cyclops who needs to be talking with their team, figuring out the problems that are going on here.
Both splits work. Or the Wolves plays low.
Still, it feels like a lot of these plays that the G2 are going for are just finding zero resistance a lot of times. The early rounds, I mean, even that opening pick they found at a She-Reap, right? Doki finding him at the top of yellow stairs, playing that Deimos. She-Reap just not even really looking in the right direction to be able to stop that. It feels like the early advantage always goes the way of G2. And with that opening pick being so important in this game for these teams, you really need to be able to get on top of it. And I'm looking at the entry players on CAG. I'm looking at She-Reap, who's 1-7. The rest of the players, frankly, are actually doing fine. But if you're always in a man disadvantage, if every round starts off and you're just in a little bit of a rougher spot than your opponent, that's gonna matter, that's gonna add up. And G2, they're making very few mistakes with this man advantage too. They're playing disciplined with it. They're going for their multi-dimensional push, split pushing, if you will, on certain sites, and it's finding success.
Nick enjoyed the shout-out, by the way.
I'm glad. Bald Nick.
Half-bald Nick, apparently. I don't know what that means.
Did he shave half his head?
I don't know. The left half. I have no idea.
I think it'd look good on him. I think you could rock it.
I couldn't tell you.
Anderson has yet to put down his shield, by the way. Maybe not the biggest deal, but, I mean, if you put a shield like top bending, it's really important. I don't know.
Oh! Ali Mao just got vaporized. Black Ray hit him with the fadeaway. Goodbye to the shield for G2. Not exactly the start you want when you're sitting on match point, but you've got a lot of buffer. CAG have a tall task ahead of them. 4 rounds to go to overtime. That's the only way out for them at this point.
That's been a crazy shot from Black Ray's POV. How he found the head of the Montaigne there, I have no idea, but what matters is he found it and he clicked it, and so the Montaigne goes down. One of the highest win rates of any operator in the game right now. Monty taking off the board is a huge deal. Some Think of Stims not being used to prompt the push. They're still just above working on these floorboards. They do have the bees coming out, perhaps down the yellow stairs. Really just trying to heal up Blaz, heal everybody up as much as they can. The Think of Stims now wear off. CAG, they're playing together. Look how grouped up they are. Not just these two, but even the smoke of Black Ray just around the corner. They want to go for trades if they get into a gunfight. But instead, Shibisu finds the lone player. He just missed his shot, Slow Parker.
Oh, regress from Doki. Gets rid of Chibisu. Black Ray dies too. No. And the advantage is now G2's as the diffuser goes down. Yokai from Anatim will need to find itself in place. It misses the first blast. And now the Yokai might lose its life as it pops up the hatch. She-Reap 1-7 has not been finding much offense here for CAG. So goes She-Reap, so goes the rest of the team. No saving grace for CAG. No deny there. She-Reap dies 1-8. He was at one point in conversation to potentially break that best-of-3 record. It's now all up to Anaton, who without his Yokais takes matters into his own hands. And Doki gets the final kill.